the Soviet Union anthem was coming on.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry.
Oh, baby.
How did you find that?
I just typed in Looney Tunes.
Okay, so this is
I was even nailing the trills in my whistle. Google still couldn't
Oh,
get it.
yeah.
Giacchino Rossini.
Giacomo.
What's the name of it?
Giacchino.
Does it have a name?
The Barber of Seville.
The Barber
It
of
had a name,
Seville.
and you didn't even know. Can't be a new idea.
Will. Top comment. A lot of us kids grew up watching these cartoons and gained a greater appreciation of classical music because of them. Says Musical Guy 59. I think that's a biased comment a little bit.
Yeah. It's a little.
It's like, obviously you would say that, Musical Guy.
This has got Roadrunner written all over it.
Oh, yeah, this is
Trying to catch that
This
bird.
reminds me of Bugs Bunny with the weird big red monster
What the hell was that thing?
in the castle.
The
yeah.
reverse grimace.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much.
yeah. And then there was that one episode where he goes into the barber. Oh my God,
Barber
that
of
was the
Seville.
Barber of Seville.
There we go.
And the barber cuts off all his hair and makes him look like a dude, and he's like, "What the fuck? I just told you to take a little off the top." That was to this song.
Probably.
Musical Guy, you were right. Musical Guy.
Us kids.
Oh, sorry, it's 39. Us kids have a deeper appreciation now. Live from the studio, folks, my name is Jimmy Selesky.
Merrick Glazer.
And we're coming at you on a, what is it today, Wednesday?
Wednesday, Tuesday.
I think it's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
6:31, starting right on time. That was for
August 30th.
August 30th, last of the hot August series. We're coming at you off of that smash hit from, I want to say 17, let's go 29. Let's go 1729, greatest hits. The Barber of Seville.
The Overture.
The Overture in F minor. They always had their key in that too. That was the titles have definitely changed over the years. Back in the day, they started by numbering them. So it'd be like the Third Symphony. And you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I love that one.
Yeah.
I love that."
They
and
they named music how like I save my project files on like Photoshop. Supposed to be like 1v2.
and then you'd get the album, and the Third Symphony was like track 7. You're like, "This is fucking bullshit. This is absolute bullshit." And then they started going to naming the keys, which I guess, I don't know why that would have been necessary.
Well, because I guess if you're like printing out all the sheet music for people, you want to make sure they're all on the same page.
True. I mean, you could put it just at like in the music and be like, "Yo, this is obviously an F minor. Do I have to spell it out for you?" You know? But I guess they just did it that way. They literally
spelled
did.
it out for
They
him.
literally did have to spell it out for him, dude. And then we went to. We're gonna skip 300 years, and we're gonna go right to.
on the couch, we got the Sophomore boys.
Yes.
John
Yes.
and Joe.
Known titlers of music in the early 2000s, emo bands used to do this thing where their song titles would be entire sentences. Like, you know,
True.
Panic at the Disco would be like, "I wrote Sin's Not Tragedy," and then Fall Out Boy was like, "This is not a something, this is an arms race." And you're like, dude, you didn't even say that in the song at all.
In like Midwest emo and genres like that, sometimes the whole bands will have punctuation points and be like half sentences. The one that I always think of is a "Godspeed you!" ! Black Emperor. That's the full
good.
fucking name.
Yeah, that was when we jumped the shark with song titling.
Absolutely.
And now in this modern era that we call 2023, we're real big on the lowercase lettering. If you capitalize a letter in your song title, you are a nerd, apparently. But I think it makes you kind of look like a poser, honestly. I genuinely do. Whenever I see somebody doing it, I'm like, oh, dude, you just don't give a fuck, bro. It's like, yeah, I made this song, whatever. What am I supposed to press shift? Not doing that. I hate it. Anyway, as I was saying, we are here with the band Sophomore. Where my six go? There we go. John Burkhart and Joe Niehaus. I'm glad you texted me to make this happen because I didn't even think about it. I was like, dude, I got to do the podcast. And there's only one problem. You guys are also going to come to the studio. I have no solutions for this.
I'm full of good ideas.
I see no workaround for this. And you're here. We are on the precipice of some major developments.
On the precipice of a blue moon tonight.
Yes,
Super blue moon.
Is that what's going to happen tonight?
Yeah.
What does that mean? It's not actually blue.
It's going to be blue.
The
The last time this happened was 2009. So it's a pretty rare. Even though like every other week, like month, there's this new like supermoon I've never heard about. Apparently, this one's rare.
Super moon.
Same year Avatar came out. I don't think that's a coincidence.
Wow, dude.
Blue people, blue moons.
Yeah, new moons happen.
Oh yeah, they
All the
figured
time.
that out in Twilight.
Yeah, they're always happening. New moons, full moons, but blue moons. That's something to think
Blue
about.
moon, that's something to drink about.
We have the band on once in a blue moon. Not since I believe 2009, right? Was when
Is
you
that
guys
where
were-
that saying comes from? Once in a blue moon, it's gotta, right?
That would make sense.
That
has
makes
to.
so much sense.
Oh, I thought you were joking.
Yeah.
Obviously,
No.
that's where it comes from, dude.
I mean, but I never expected the moon to go blue.
Yeah, that's because it rarely happens.
Yeah.
So
wow.
once in a blue moon, you're like, whoa, dude, I'm watching, Seinfeld once
This
in a
is
blue
crazy.
moon, and then
This is crazy to me.
How pleasantly unexpected.
I thought that went without saying. Our trusty listeners, I thought you had all picked up on that.
I never put the two together.
Wow, the two moon. We are coming off of, I believe we released I think we can still talk about our most recent release, Backtrack, only because we're still waiting for one particular playlist placement that will probably never occur. So shouts out to Selvi Rao for stealing $100 of our money. Selvi.
That's their name?
Yeah.
Okay.
And also shouts out to Dom Selesky for saying, dude, you got to hit this playlist up.
It's definitely not a scam.
Yeah, he was like, she takes a while, but she's like very lackadaisical. So she took like 3 weeks to put my song up. But once she did, it's like still up there. I'm like, Dom, she's probably like I don't know. It's been 4 months for us. I can't. 4? Well, we released
No.
the song in April 2021. No, 23. Yeah, April
Yeah.
2023. 20th. Remember, it was a big deal. 420. And and for 2 months, I was kind of like back and forth. Like I was not back and forth. I was just forth with her. I didn't get anything back. I just was forth with her and said, hey, what's popping with that placement? Like she was, here's the thing, very responsive prior to
The
Then she
money.
got the money.
yeah. Well, even that, it still took her like 2 weeks to get back to us. Like I hit her up and she was like, nothing.
That's like the easiest $100 you can make.
Yeah, but the thing is, it really disappoints me because it's frustrating because I've always had this problem with people who are scam minded, and I'm not. Here, I can say this comfortably now because even if she did place it, like even if she woke up tomorrow, it's like, oh shit, I forgot, and then place it, I'd still be like, well, what the hell, we want to get the song placed when it's a new release because it helps with the algorithm. This could have been the difference between our current plays and 1 billion streams. We could be touring right now.
We could be.
So thanks, Selvi. I appreciate that. And your playlist, songs that will definitely put you to sleep, is what this playlist is called. In all lowercase, mind you.
Period.
So she can do that. But it bugs
I
me.
mean,
when,
maybe it's a compliment that you didn't get added to that playlist.
yeah, maybe she listened to it, got the $100, and she's like, I haven't slept a wink. I heard this new release from Sophomore.
Yeah, you're backtracking a little bit, huh?
Yeah, I guess I am backtracking a little bit. But I mean, okay, so there's two ways of going about it. Either you are a conniving schemer, at which point that goes without saying. That's why would you do that? But even so, regardless, whether it's incompetence or malice, I've never understood how people can have a thing that could very easily be a cash cow making thing. Like you have a playlist that has millions of followers, and people are obviously clamoring to submit to your playlist, all you have to do is just not fuck them over. And you can perpetually make money because we're going to hit you up every time. If you actually place this and we get good results, we're going to hit you up every time. I used to have this issue when people would like go through the neighborhoods, because I mowed lawns when I was younger. And then there would be these other kids that would go through, like when the snow was shoveling, they'd go to the doors, they'd get the money from the people and then just not shovel the snow. And then the neighbor people would be like, damn, I got scammed. But it's like, I'm looking at those kids and I'm like, why would you do that? Because now, okay, you made that $20 now, but this is an entire block that you'll never be able to make money from again. You're thinking too short term, dog. You make this $20 now, you do the work now, next snowstorm, maybe 2 weeks later, you get another $20. If you're mowing someone's lawn, you do that. It's like, so I don't understand how, even if she is a schemer, it's like, damn, like you're it's so easy to just place the song, It's not like you have to do any work. So I don't know. I didn't know what to say for like 3 months. And then finally the other night, I just sent her a picture of my face looking disappointed.
Oh, that's good.
I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to be like, hey, because here's the other thing that when you get caught in this situation, I never want to offend people. And so I always have to play dumb to the point of actually being dumb. Like I still haven't been able to bring myself to be like, fuck you. You totally scammed us. I still have to act like this is just one big misunderstanding. When you like want somebody to do something, but you also don't want to seem like a dick. So you're like, somebody owes you money. You're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that 100. And you have to act like you don't think that they're trying to fuck you over, even though they obviously are trying to fuck you over. Mm-hmm. So I just figured the selfie, the disappointed selfie is probably the best play there.
That's like actions speak louder than words.
It is.
And you're showing it.
Because I'm not gonna lie, I took it about 17 times, not even exaggerating, because I wanted to encapsulate. The
Just wasn't
perfect expression.
Yeah.
The perfect expression that conveys both disappointment, but apathy, unbotheredness, yet sorrow, anger, yet
acceptance.
And I believe that when you see this selfie, and when she sees this selfie, she might place the song.
What's her name? Is her name Selfie?
No, her name is Selvi.
Selfie. What if she takes offense to the selfie?
That would be
She
true.
thinks you're mocking.
I'm like appropriating her name. Mm-hmm. That's my culture. I'm literally named Selfie.
Yeah.
I go, sorry. Speaking of scams, another guy hit us up. We're in that weird kind of phase where we're like, people are finding us on Instagram and messaging us, but they're all fake people. Mm-hmm. That's always the fun. They're not all fake people. Some of them are real, but the ones that are promising are fake. The promising leads are always too good to be true. And this guy named Rosh Rishi hit us up. He is the founder of Hot New Hip Hop.
Ooh.
And this bugged me more than the Selvi thing, honestly. Because I reached out to Selvi. I set myself up to being scammed. I said, hey, hi, my name's Jimmy Selesky. I'm in this band called Sophomore. Would you like to fuck us over? And she was like, sure, I guess I'll fuck you over. Just don't do it on my time. This guy reached out to me and was like, hey, I'm definitely not going to fuck you over. My name is Rosh Rishi. And I was like, Rosh, you got yourself a goddamn deal. And he was like, yo, I really fuck with the music, fam. I was like, dude, man, fucking cool. Black guys like our music. This is sick. And so I was like, all right, yeah, thanks, fam. And he was like, I want to do an article on you guys. I was like, word. And he was like, yeah. So just send me this, send me that. Didn't even mention money at all, which is, I thought was like both odd and even. Like not, it was like odd, but then I was like, maybe he just really fucks with the music. I don't know. And so he has me do this thing and he's like hounding me. Because this is like during my birthday era of my life. This is my birthday week.
We're talking 10 days ago.
We're talking 10 days ago. This is a different time.
Yeah.
It's a different time.
Yeah.
All right?
Eons
ago. It was my birthday. And he's like messaging me on my birthday, going like, yo, send me some promo pics. Yo, type out a little mini bio. And I was like, all right, fine.
Bro, are you writing the article or am I?
Dude, I think we could easily get in the article business because apparently most of it is just making people write articles about themselves for you.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And so he goes, so I finally sent him, I was like putting it off and I was feeling guilty because I was like, dude, this fucking guy really wants to write an article about us.
Rosh.
And now I'm brushing him off. What? Because it's my birthday? So I get back to him like, hey, man, this is a story all about how. And I'm going through the whole history of the band. He said mini bio. I gave him a bio.
Yeah, he made a mega bio.
Yeah. When he doesn't even have to copy and paste. He has to like delete things and then copy and paste now at this point. And so then he gets back to me a day later. I knew something was up because whenever I would take like more than a day to respond, he'd just send me hello with a waving hand. I was like, this is obviously not normal. And then that day he goes, hell yeah. I feel like I should let you know though, the editors are going to have to charge $100 for doing the article. If it was up to me, I wouldn't charge you $1, but it's just what the editors want. And I was like, you son of a gun.
Insane.
You absolute. And yeah, so I kind of let it go for like 2 days. I was like, I'm just not going to respond. But because the thing is, it's like, I wouldn't mind paying for promotion. We pay for promotion all the time. Sometimes we don't even get promoted. We just pay for it. You know, we pay for promotion.
Yeah.
Doesn't even necessarily have to promote anything. You know, and now I have another guy on Instagram trying to get another $100 out of me, dude. That seems to be the going rate for scammers. They always want $100. Mm-hmm. They always want $100.
Because it is like, it's a lot of money, but also it's not. You know what I mean? So it's like, that makes sense as a rate.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, it's like, if $100 landed in your lap right now, you'd be like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, but if $100 like fell out of my the thing is, I'm way more bummed about losing $100 than I am making $100. But that's just because human nature and negativity bias, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm way less bummed when it's the three of us combined $100. In reality, we all lost $33. You know, so it's like whatever, dude. I lose $33 all the time. I'm losing.
You
33
lost
bucks.
34. We lost 33.
Are you majority owner?
We'll see what the 1099s have to say about that. You'll see in your mail. Expense reports. 32, that son of a bitch. So then I was going to type him out. I was going to let him know how I felt. Because now I'm out of my birthday year. I'm 31. I don't like...
You're a man now.
I was a man. And I was like, dude, I'm tired of getting hustled in this game. I'm going to fucking tell this guy. I said, really wish you would have told me that up front, man. Because, you know, I don't mind paying for promotion, but that's the kind of thing that gets discussed up front and not 2 weeks in. And I'm not accusing you of being purposely misleading, but that's how it comes off. So I just thought you should know that. And then 5 hours later, I got anxiety and unsent it.
You unsent it? No.
But
That's 30-year-old activity.
listen,
You're a bitch, dude.
listen. The reason I unsent it was because on the off chance that this guy really was a genuine guy and just didn't know how to do his shit, I didn't want to hurt his feelings.
That's
So-
just bad business, though.
But also, like,
think you
did
hurt
you
his
look
feelings.
up
Yeah.
this website? Did you look up to see if Rosh was even employed there?
I did. And so I clicked the link in his bio, and this is where the story gets dark. I clicked the link in his bio, and I see it's linked to a guy named Rosh Risky with a K, not an H.
Wait,
then I
Ross or Rosh?
Rosh, R-O-S-H, Risky.
But it was Rosh Rishi
I was
before?
being DM'd by Rosh Rishi. And so I went and I searched for Rosh Risky on Instagram, and I found a guy
The real
who is
one.
the founder of Hot New Hip Hop.
Oh my
Notable guy who did not DM us.
This is giving me anxiety.
Notable guy who probably doesn't have to answer to his editors of the website he probably owns.
I own the company, but the editors are really on my
They're
balls.
hounding me for $100 for
Rush
this.
Risky would have paid you $100 to stop DMing him.
Yeah, dude. So I found him and I was like, okay. So then I DM'd Rosh Risky and I said, yo, is this guy you? because he's been DMing me. And Rosh hasn't gotten back to me, which makes me know that that's the real Rosh.
Yeah.
Because the real founder of Hot New Hip Hop would not DM me back.
It's not going to be like, hello, waving hand emoji.
Yeah. Hello, I'm the founder of Hot New Hip Hop, and I'm just dying for Sophomore's mini bio. So, yeah. So 2 leads down the drain. But
Are you going to
nonetheless,
resend that DM now?
no, because it's obviously like a Russian bot or something. It's obviously
Roshan.
it boggles it Russian bot. They're getting good, man. I mean, look, obviously I wouldn't have sent money, but like I did believe this guy for like 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah.
He catfished me, kind. I mean, he catfished
Well, like
me.
any industry where it's like based around people's dreams and ambitions, those are the biggest, areas that people try to scam.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
That's the good thing about being 31 is I don't really have dreams anymore. I just have ambitions. Dreams is a young guy thing, I think. Dreams are like, oh, one day I'm going to do that. And then when you're 31, ambition is just like, why the fuck am I not doing this yet? This is bullshit. You stop dreaming. You're just like,
That's true.
it's not like it's more like a pragmatic thing. The approach to success when you get older becomes much more tangible and less about like this enigmatic idea of success.
You
Now
hear
it's
that,
just
Joe?
yeah,
Gets
Joe.
real
Joe
dark.
still has dreams.
It
gets worse.
He's still in Dreamville.
They're going down little by little each year. I just turned 25, which is very different from 24 and 23. I've been telling people it's like
Get on the mic a little bit.
you turn 23 and you're like, wow, I have my whole life ahead of me, and then you turn 25 and it's like, I'm gonna die someday.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. Those are the ages. The quarter life crisis is made up. It's definitely not a thing. Although I did experience it, so I'm going to take that back. I experienced
it's real.
It's definitely. I don't think the quarter life crisis is
I
an
think it
age.
comes
though.
more.
I think it's
I feel like the
mindset.
27 club shouldn't be the death thing anymore. It should be, all right, now you're thinking about death for real.
Yeah, you're like
death
really.
could happen.
Death could happen. Like I think that with the quarter life crisis is much more about like. I think everybody comes to at their own age. I think the big ages, like 30 was supposed to be like a big age, but I don't know. Once you're in your late 20s, it was just, I already felt like you're pretty much 30 when you talk to anybody who's in their early 20s. Like as far as anybody who's 21 is concerned, a 29-year-old is 30. They don't
It
make a
doesn't
fucking
matter.
difference.
It's all the same.
But the great thing about once you cross into your 30s is age literally doesn't matter anymore. It's not a thing anymore. All the things you learn.
For some things, it matters.
Well, for some things.
Age is just a number now, bro.
This podcast is brought to you by Dan Schneider.
Not the football one.
Certainly not the owner of the
I mean, both are
the
bad,
not
dude.
Redskins.
It's a lose-lose situation right there.
Yeah, dude, you're definitely setting your kid up for failure when you name him Dan Schneider.
You flip that coin and you hope it lands right up. You don't even want it to land on the other side.
No, but it's like, I think that obviously, when you're in high school, the 1 year difference is huge. Like I remember it being a big deal.
Oh,
yeah.
if you're like a junior and you date a senior or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Or vice versa, yeah.
Yeah.
People
Vice
thought
versa.
you were
That's a
a
big
fucking
deal.
cradle robber.
that's a
Yeah.
huge deal. Yeah,
Or like when seniors started to date freshmen, I was like, dude, you're
that's
weird.
yeah,
man.
no.
that was
That's
that
That's
was
what I feel like.
that was definitely my line. That was not that I was dating anybody, but my line of judging other people.
Yeah. Wasn't me. Couldn't have been me.
It literally could not
Literally,
have been me.
mathematically couldn't have been us.
If you look at the numbers, really, it wasn't happening. But when I was judging other people from afar, one of the coping mechanisms I would use to justify my own lack of ass was noting that a senior was dating a freshman. I was like, I'd rather fuck nobody than a freshman.
Living the dream.
I'm gonna continue fucking nobody. Actually,
I'm actually not fucking because I'm a good person.
I'm like Gandhi in a way.
That was a deep cut.
That was a deep cut, dude. That was a deep, deep cut. But yeah, so those are all things that are real. Lack of dreams, increase in ambition. I had a couple things I wanted to touch upon. Obviously, the elephant in the room, for those of you who don't know about John Burkhart's life, you're moving to Nashville, bro.
I'm moving to Nashville. at the end of next month. I'm going there this weekend.
Wow, that's crazy.
Or Friday, and we're gonna get stuff from Target. But we're moving to.
That's one of my favorite things to do in Nashville when I go there.
Get
to
stuff
Target.
from Target.
Yeah. For
Oh,
sure.
you've never been to a Target like you've been in Nashville.
Oh yeah, it is the Target.
Oh,
It's great.
it's the only Target.
So what are you guys getting? Just like the stuff that you get when you move. I haven't moved in so long, but
You
I
gotta get
imagine like
trash
a toilet
bags.
brush.
Yeah,
You got to get a
bur-
toilet brush.
You get like peanut
Shower
butter
curtain.
and jelly.
Peanut butter and jelly, beer.
Yeah.
Beer.
They have
Okay.
beer at grocery stores down there.
Paper
They have
towels.
They have beer everywhere, but in fucking Maryland.
The initial round of purchases when moving into a place says a lot about a person, and I think that I can't imagine. First of all, also the stuff you take with you when you leave says a lot about a person. Am I driving? If I'm you, am I driving down to Nashville with my toilet brush in my car, or am I just getting
Absolutely
a new fucking
not.
toilet brush?
That's going down.
Oh, yeah,
that's
new
going
one.
in the trash.
I mean, but there are people that would do that. They'd be like, "This is a perfectly good toilet brush."
Oh, I would
I'll
absolutely bring the
clean
toilet
this
brush.
out.
Absolutely. I keep all that thing. I hate buying
no.
new stuff. I hate having
That's
to throw it
crazy.
away. I hate
just
having to
left
buy it
it
again.
at
New
my last
toilet,
place.
new toilet, new me.
Yeah, dude.
I'm like, I'll let the next tenant clean up after my dirty brush.
He'll have to use a toilet brush. So you got beer. That's a good mark in the right category. That means you're cool, I think.
Well, I figure we'll get beer and we'll leave it in the fridge there. So when we get
It'll be
there,
super
there'll-
cold.
There will
Extra
be.
cold.
It won't be warm, hot beer.
Yeah, it'll be cold. That's
be cold
awesome,
beer.
dude. You're planning out your cold beer 2 weeks in advance. 2 weeks of chilling.
Yeah, maybe I'll throw a pack of hot dogs in there.
Is that
There you
why you're
go.
moving? You just want the really cold beer?
Yeah, dude. You got cold beer down there, dude.
I was thinking, how far do I have to go to get the coldest beer? How expensive do I need to make this beer?
So with the move to Nashville, I guess, did you guys kind of bat back and forth on different locations, or was Nashville pretty much it? Was that like where you're going?
So my wife's number one city was Charlotte. She loves Charlotte.
Okay.
Very cool city. Very clean.
Both very white.
Uh-huh. Very. Sure. That's,
Hey, these are
Jimmy,
You're
can we
not
run
wrong.
the demographics on that? Can
Yeah.
you get the lineup for each
Charlotte.
city?
we'll run the facts after the episode.
But they do have the only black owner in the NBA. Michael Jordan owns the Charlotte Bobcats.
Not anymore. He just sold it, didn't he?
Oh, he probably thought the city
I think
was
he's
too white.
I think he's still partially an owner, potentially.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's a major. If he's still partially an owner, then I'm gonna make you redact your claim.
All I know is that he
I mean,
bought it for a couple mil and then sold it and made like a couple bill.
Mm-hmm.
Like the dude is just swimming in
He's
it.
making deals.
Oh yeah, he's
Okay.
wheeling and dealing.
All right.
But yeah, Charlotte was probably the number one city, and then Nashville was like a happy medium where it was still south, and it had the music scene for me. Because Charlotte, when I asked people about it, like while I was down there, I got like a bunch of weird mixed answers about it. Like this one guy was in
music
like a
scene?
reggae band, and he was like, "Yeah, we play Charlotte every once in a while, and then we play all these other gigs around Charlotte." And I was like, "It doesn't sound all that fun to me. I'd rather
Yeah.
go where they have bands on each level of the bar."
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely makes sense.
Nash, have you ever been to Nashville, Joe?
No, that's why I'm glad John's moving there.
Yeah, he will. He will, and he's got a place to stay.
It's honestly mine. It is crazy how committed they are to the whole music thing down there.
Yeah.
It's like multiple bands, like you said, like every floor of the bar has a different band.
Oh yeah,
You
dude,
did-
they'll be in like your hotel lobby
Oh yeah,
It's
of
crazy.
like a band. Yeah,
You told me one thing that scared me a little bit, was just they're not big on breaks down there, and now I haven't stopped thinking about that.
Dude, if you're gonna take, so Jack O'Connell's down there, and he plays bar gigs all the time. And I was asking him about it. I was like, "Yo, what's it like?" And he gave me the rundown. And he was like, "By the way, there are no breaks. If you take a break, you go take a quick piss break, and that's it. And when you take the break, maybe the rest of the band, the singer does like an acoustic thing or whatever. But like you go out, you take your piss, and you come right the fuck back. Or if the singer needs to take a piss, like you play fucking YYZ or some shit, and like they go take a piss." And they come back, and then the rest, like a 3-hour gig is a 3-hour gig. For us, a 3-hour gig is 3 45-ish minute sets.
We started
you know?
15 minutes late,
Yeah.
Then we take a 25-minute
But
break.
the people fucking love it.
They love
it.
People love when you take breaks, dude.
Yeah.
I think it adds to the ambiance. People want to, like, when you go on breaks, that's when all the networking happens. You're not making deals when you're playing music. That's when you're wheeling.
Yep.
When you're on your break, you're dealing.
Ah,
Exactly.
Missing makes the heart grow
Intermission, you
fonder.
know?
So Nashville is just all about wheeling.
Dude,
Nothing
it's crazy.
to do with dealing.
Yeah, I was talking to my buddy Zoltan, and he was telling me the same
He's
thing.
named after the symbols.
Oh, big time.
Oh, good.
ZT Zoltan.
Did he give you your fortune? That sounds like
Yeah, I met him. Yeah, I met him on the boardwalk.
He does sound like a mage, like a high elf.
He's a
quarter
wizard.
to him.
And he was saying the same thing, but he was like, there's certain clubs that, it's not like, I feel like in Fells Point, there's a pretty like standard rate. Like,
Yeah.
it's like 150 a man, give or take. But down there, it'll vary. And like some of the gigs, like you play 3 hours at every gig, but like some of the gigs, they have a good guarantee. Some of them are bad. Like it all just varies. It depends on the bar or where you're playing. It's just like you just roll the dice with like your tips and like the people you play with and the bar, like the way the bars run.
Yeah, the tips thing is a big thing too, because like having to like actively solicit the tips would kind of eat me up a little bit. I hate when people.
It's tough.
I hate when people ask for money, but you kind of have to do it in like a cool way. I think there's like ways that you get used to down there, but definitely it's just like it's interesting to see how like different markets. Obviously, Nashville is a situation where the supply of music is so prevalent that the demand is like, dude, literally, if you don't like this price, there are 4,500 other people that would play here, like this shift.
Yeah.
So you have like no leverage as a musician, which is kind of crazy. If there's any city that I would see a union working, it would be, not that I'm like pitching a musicians union in Nashville.
They do have one.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, I got paid by it. Oh, and I played the CMA Fest. They pay you
And they
out.
didn't include breaks in their rider?
No, I mean we only played 30 minutes, but
Okay.
Is
And
there
no break?
crying time included in that?
no crying. There's no crying on stage.
Absolutely no crying.
You
in
get
Nashville.
on, you tough it the fuck out, and you get the fuck off, and then you cry elsewhere.
When I chair the Nashville Musicians Union, I'm fighting for 3 20 to 40-minute breaks per 4 hours.
This is Jimmy's gig. You're just a part of it.
As far as the tipping goes, if it's anything like New Orleans, I imagine there's like a culture of tipping there where, it's a city with a lot of tourists coming to see musicians, and as such, they'll kind of pay accordingly on their own accord. Like I paid a lot of money to musicians when I was in New Orleans, just cause.
Yeah.
just
You're a
'cause I wanted
musician,
to.
though.
I know, yeah, I was gonna mention that, and I'm super biased in that respect.
You
but
forgot to mention that, didn't you?
Yeah, I guess.
That's a pretty big
I don't
piece of
remember
puzzle.
that. Anyone.
keeps,
Musical
like,
guy 39.
this guy's doing like a Ray Charles LARP, and and I go up and I go, here's fucking $20, and then I put it in the bucket and I lean in. There's like 30 more of those in there.
He
you know?
pretended he didn't see it. You're like, wow, you are really in character, bro.
Like for us, we have to play at the fucking Valley Inn to get good tips. If we play CNR, people will be like, "Oh, here's a tip," and they give us like $1.
Yeah, or a shot.
Oh yeah, well, shots aren't. I'll take a shot.
Shots should be redeemable for I don't know, maybe.
For
I mean,
they're like tickets at an arcade.
that's kind of like what. Yeah,
You take it back to the bar and you get like a teddy bear for it.
Yeah, or like 3 Skittles.
Here's a mini Snickers bar.
It's pretty weak trade-in value.
it is.
A bunch of Jacks.
It is kind of crazy because when I go through my Lenten period during the Greek Holy Week, I make a effort usually every year to not drink during those days. But it's not possible
When
for
you're
me
playing.
at least.
Sure.
Because so much of the culture is you're in a bar.
Yeah.
And like it or not, I have this same issue when bartenders don't drink. There's a certain thing about it where it's like you want to feel like you're partying with someone and not like you're being like, you don't want to feel like the bartender's working when you see him. You want to feel like the bartender's chilling with you.
Yeah.
You don't want to feel like when you watch a band that they're doing a job. You want to feel like they're just jamming. And when like you're in a bar environment, which is obviously a drinking environment. That's why it's there. And like somebody comes up to you with a shot, and you have to be like, nah, no thanks, man. I'll stick with my water. And you're like, I don't know. It's a bummer. It is a bummer. I think that a lot of people would agree with me when I say that when you buy a shot for the band and they're like, nah, no thanks. It's like rejection a little bit. It's like, nah, I would especially if they're already drinking too, because then they're like, no, I would buy a shot, just not from fucking you. You know? Do you disagree?
Wait, you're
What
talking
if you
about
do a system where every hour on the hour you schedule a drink and a shot to be sent to you, and you just play it off like someone is buying you those. And then when you talk on the microphone, you can say, hey, if you guys want to support the band, send us some drinks, send them to the stage. And then when they go to buy the drink, it's really just put on a tab to pay out to you guys at the end of the night.
Oh, snap.
I don't get it.
I mean,
Just explain it to me like I'm seven.
That
So
system.
basically, like you already have, let's say you're playing from 4 to 7.
Yeah.
At 5 and 6 and 7, you have the bartender bring you out drinks
Yeah.
as a standard.
Yeah.
But then while you're playing, be like, hey, if you guys want to support the band, send a shot to the stage, send a drink to the stage, da 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 da. When they go to the bar, the bartender knows not to actually do that. You have your scheduled drinks coming out to you anyway.
But he still takes the
But
money.
he still takes the money.
And that's
And then all
dude,
that
that's
money
fucking genius, honestly.
just gets put into a pile and then paid out to you guys at the end of the night.
Well, it'd have to be cash. Right.
It'd have to be cash, I guess. Or they just
necessarily.
make something on the like point of sale shit where it's like, you
Yeah.
know,
Jimmy's
like a
fake
fake
shots.
Yeah.
yeah.
That
then
would
they
be a
just bring
great
us
plan,
up.
but if you ever got found out about that, that's
Yeah.
a cancelable
It's a
offense.
scheme.
But how would you?
Somebody would find out. A disgruntled bartender would be sitting there.
Nah,
A bartender from the horse would be down at Admiral's Cup, like, yeah, I got fired from a horse last night. And then, like, something would come and be like, yeah, fucking Jimmy Selesky. Dude, that guy hasn't drank a shot in 3 years. You know what he fucking does? You know what he fucking does? And everybody's be like, no fucking way. It's going to get out. It's going to be a whole thing. It's going to be somehow, like,
the Baltimore Banner's latest.
Honestly,
Ed doesn't drink. He'll
what
drink
you
Red
should
Bull.
do, Jimmy,
huh?
is you know how you used to have your whiskey bottle?
Oh, yes.
What if you have an empty bottle behind the bar, and when people buy you a shot, they just pour it into the bottle until it fills up, and then you get to get a free bottle of whiskey?
See, these are amazing ideas. These are ideas that only a guy who doesn't actually want to drink all that would come up with. Whereas me, I was trying to pretend like I don't want to drink, and it's just such a massive inconvenience that I haven't really bothered to think this hard about it. I'm like, yeah, it really bugs me that I have to drink all the time at these gigs. And then Eric, with like 5 seconds to think, it's like, well, here's a bunch of solutions. I was like, what? No, dude.
No, I'll just drink.
I'll just drink. It's way easier to just drink.
I don't want to be rude. I have to violate my covenant with God for these people.
I'd hate to be rude. Yes, but speaking of traveling, this is something that I feel the need to discuss, and we as a band we've had many disagreements. I'm hoping that this is not one of them. I hope that we all see.
I hope it is. I'm ready to fight, dude.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be
fucking-
boring if I
You're
just
fishing
said
for
this
one.
and you guys are like,
Oh, we
yeah,
agree.
right.
Absolutely.
I'm just like, all right, we'll be right back after these short messages. There goes 30 minutes of the podcast. We're talking about driving. We're talking about traveling. I drove to Ocean City over the weekend, kind of last week. And I think that as a society, we need to finally come to a true referendum on the passing lane and the actual etiquette that is involved with it. Because I think there's a lot of folklore about the fast lane and passing lane that doesn't actually apply in real world driving. And I think that some people are really fucking annoying about it. Myself personally, I think it's a bunch of fucking hoopla that like you only use the fast lane when you're passing and you only pass to your left. I think that's dumb. I think that in reality, it's like if you're going fast, obviously you go in the fast lane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the song? What's the song by the Eagles?
Life in the Fast Lane.
No, it's not. It's Life in the fucking fast lane, baby. So when I'm driving, this is what really gets me, because a lot of other people have this idea where it's like, well, as long as I'm going faster than anyone else, it's everyone else's job to get out of my way. I disagree. My rule for the passing lane is if I'm in the fast lane.
Do you just look at your notes? Did you forget your role?
No, I know my role is. Dude.
Okay. I saw you glance.
He's trying to say past
I'm making it
gas
up
right
on the
now.
spot. This is where my ideas come from. That's a good one.
Your ass is behind you, Jimmy.
My general rule, and it's the reason I got to think about it is because I've never actually expressed it outwardly in words. Probably I have, but if I'm in the fast lane and I'm already going 10 miles over the speed limit, and you want to go faster than that, and you're tailing me behind me with your fucking headlights on, you can go around. Because in order for you to go faster than me, you already have to break the law. So I'm supposed to believe that simultaneously, you're this, stickler for the law. Well, technically, if you're in the passing lane, you're not supposed to be riding it, but also I'm going to go 30 over. Can't have it both ways, buddy. You're either going to be the guy who's speeding, or you're going to be the guy who is obeying every single traffic rule. You don't get to speed as fast as you want and then come up on me who's already doing 80 in a 65 and then follow me for fucking 3 miles beeping. First of all, I want to know what is going through those people's minds when they're driving. Do they legitimately feel like there's 7 billion people on the fucking planet and all I have to do for everyone to simply get out of my way is just go faster? What are you, fucking Moses? I'm just going to hit the gas, and it's everyone's fucking job to just part. Because I want to go fast, dude. No. If I'm in the fast lane and I'm not doing 10 over, I'll move. Because there are times when I do that. There are times when I'm not speeding.
Just start
believe
paying,
it or not.
not paying attention. Yeah, I do that all the
I
time.
look down and I'm accidentally just going the speed line. And I'm like, Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
Pick it up.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Just obeying the law. Accidentally, of course.
Super weird.
Wasn't paying attention. I wound up accidentally being safe. So I just, it's one of those things where I think in every state, and it's a thing that you notice that it's in Virginia and Pennsylvania, they're the fucking worst. I genuinely believe that Pennsylvania drivers are the worst. And
I agree.
They fucking suck, dude. And they are notorious for that. They are notorious for just tailing you. And it's like, what point are you trying to prove, man? I'm not moving. At a certain point, when somebody is doing that to you, it's almost like I will slow down. I will hit the brakes. I will go slow. I came to a complete stop on 83 once.
No, you did not.
Swear to God.
That's
It
wild.
was 2 a.m. and this guy was, I think I was 22 at the time. And this guy was following me up 83 and there was nobody on the road. It was 2 a.m. I was coming home from a gig.
Yeah.
2 a.m. Nobody's on the fucking road. And this guy is just right on my fucking ass. I'm already going fast. And he just won't let it go. He could so easily just this way. No, but he wanted me to do that. It had to be me that did it.
Yeah.
And now it's a dick measuring
literally,
contest.
It literally couldn't be me, dude. It couldn't be me. So I notice it and I slow, and then he's slowing, and he's beeping, and he's beeping, and he's beeping.
Dude, that is wild.
Slow,
Oh my God.
slow, stop.
Yeah.
And then he goes around.
I mean, he probably thought you were drunk and thought the cops are pulling him over or pulling you over.
In reverse. Pulling over in reverse.
I guess. I don't
Citizens
fucking
arrest.
Citizens on patrol.
That I always wondered, can a cop pull you over in reverse? I always thought, if I thought that a cop saw me do something and he wanted to pull me over, that all I'd have to do is just get behind him. And then he's just he wants to pull
It's
me
their
over and
blind
he's like, God damn it. And you'd see him put his lights on and I'm just behind him yeah, you better fucking get that guy. I don't know what.
Some
I don't know.
Mach 5 shit.
He comes to complete stop and I'm just like. So any qualms at that?
No, I think that's totally legit. And I will say that I think it is regional, not state based. But when I was driving out over the Great Plains, where even at peak traffic hours, there just isn't that much throughput, then it makes the most sense because at that point, the speed limit is 85 or something stupid like that. There's no suggestion as it is here about what the speed limit should be. So everybody's just beaming it pretty much as fast as they can do so with decent gas mileage. So at that point, everybody's on the right side of the road anyway. And if you want to be Mr. Daredevil, you can go around. But as far as like Maryland goes, the Beltway is just like, listen, whatever makes the most people move through these arteries, these very clogged arteries, the fastest makes the most sense.
We don't have enough lanes on 695 for one of them to just be the passing lane.
Exactly.
They all need to
adding
be
another will
occupied.
not make a damn a little bit of difference.
No.
Oh my God.
Another lane is not going to difference.
No, it never does.
There is no amount of lanes.
Yeah. I also don't even think about the passing rule of whatever
Nobody does.
unless I'm on like a road trip.
Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
I'm not worrying about the passing lane when I'm driving to work. Like that takes 15 minutes. But if I'm on, when I was driving to Ohio, of course I'm gonna get out of the passing lane if someone's riding my ass, because I'm like, I'm not gonna, I'm not pulling a stunt in another state, and I'm not risking getting fucked up for something stupid.
Dude, getting pulled over in Virginia is hell.
Yeah,
It is
believe
hell.
it.
I can't speak from personal whatever, but I've heard of people getting fucked. By,
Yeah, the super small towns, and they'll be
yeah.
like, "Yeah, come to court this day," and then you don't show up, and then you're just fucked.
I would like to invest in. First of all, I can't believe this is an invention. We came up with plenty of inventions before the podcast. For instance, for those of you who don't know, it's if anybody was worried that AI is eventually going to take over humanity, just know
We invented
that
IA.
we did. We have not.
intelligence, artificial.
That to this day you can't whistle a classical song into your phone and it'll be like, oh yeah, I got that. You can do that with a regular guy.
Yeah.
Even the most artificially unintelligent guy you find, you can be like, hey, you know that one? And they're like, oh yeah, hell yeah, do I know that one? Yet this fucking computer, this super hive mind, all of humanity's Library of Babylon in a chip, cannot process when I whistle an obvious tune.
A Looney Tune.
A Looney Tune. A literal Looney Tune.
No abstract reasoning.
No abstract
Symbol
reasoning.
manipulation. No common sense.
And that's what being a human is. Abstract reasoning, no common sense, and fucking just like little things like that, It's like I remember my math teacher told me that in middle school. He said, well, this is something everybody has said, but he said it first to me when I heard it. And he said, the calculator is only as smart as the person using it. Because so many people would just like be like, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, you have to know how to manipulate the calculator. You have to know what equations to plug in.
Yeah, you have to put in 80080 or whatever 5 to make it say boobs.
A calculator would never
Abstract thinking,
a
baby.
calculator would never think of that because it would be like, I don't understand why this is funny.
What is boobs?
Even if it did understand that like the numbers 80085 look like boobs, it would still be like, yes, I understand, but why is that funny? You'd be like, dude, you don't understand the metaphysical aspects of humor. It's funny because it's so stupid that it's not funny because it's funny. Calculators don't get that.
AI doesn't get humor.
And
It's one
TIs
of the
especially
things
don't get
really,
humor.
really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't.
Because they're bad at coming up with things that are unexpected, which is what a lot of humor
Which is
comes
what
from.
humor is.
They're supposed to do like the next right thing. At least the large language models are. They're different kinds of AI, but if the whole point of it is to do the most expected thing possible.
Yeah.
So it's
Like
it's
the
antithetical to
algorithmic
what
thing
its
that makes
purpose
the
is.
most sense. And it's like, well, dude, sorry. Welcome
Yeah.
to my world, baby.
Yeah.
The land of
The free.
the land of the free. Yeah, so that's that. Well, as predicted, I laid down such a valid fucking point that you guys have no
I've got no
arguments.
qualms.
no marks.
Not really.
We all
I mean, I'll get
grew
out
up
of the
in
way
same place.
just to like.
Yeah,
I'll just get out of the way to get out of the way.
Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Eric, I agree with you. Sometimes it's not worth it, but at the same time,
I feel like once you're 30, you like realize like, oh, I could just be fucking with the wrong one today.
but the thing is, you also at the same like you and I have gone back and forth about this before, where it's like, yes, you have more common sense when you age, But at the same time, you also start to feel more responsible for your surroundings. Like when I was a kid, I would see stuff that was happening around me that was silly, and I was like, the fucking adults better figure that out. And now that I'm 31, when I see stupid shit happening around me, I think, oh, the adults better figure that out. Oh, wait, I'm one of the adults. Maybe I should help figure this out. And so there's an element of like, when I see shit going on around me that's obviously wrong, there's an element, it's like, look, like, this person is going to continue to be a douchebag. And if I could even throw the slightest little wrench in his douchebag day, just the slightest little thing that might make him reflect and be like, why did that happen? Why did that guy do that? And then maybe he'll go back and Google passing laws to prove me wrong. And then he will find that I was wrong, that technically you're not supposed to be in the lane. But also, hopefully, AI is smart enough to also include, also, if you do what you did today, you're a fucking dick. And then he might think, you don't question yourself. You don't question your path until you hit a roadblock. If it's always smooth sailing, you just keep going where you're going. I had to recalibrate my betting system the other week because I hit a losing streak. Now, the losing streak was natural because that's the inevitability of probability. You're going to hit losing streaks. But because I was hitting a losing streak, it made me kind of go back, find some stuff, and I found a couple things wrong with my equations, and I fixed them. That wouldn't have happened if I had kept winning. What would have kept happening if I had kept winning is I would have just kept on doing something that was ultimately the wrong way. So the only reason I even questioned it was because I hit a roadblock. And so I feel like sometimes you don't need to get in a fight. You don't need to fucking make a scene. But I do have an issue with just allowing people to be fucking wrong all the fucking time. And it's not even like, and this is coming from a person who, like we discussed, I always come from a place where I'm always questioning, am I the dick in this situation? I'm always wondering, like, I've never been one of the, I never use my car horn for that exact reason, because very seldom am I so confident that I'm driving well that I can actually yell via my horn at another human being for their driving. Very seldom. I have to have all my boxes checked. That's not how a lot of people are. A lot of people are like, just assume that it's not even they think they're doing something right. It's just whatever you're doing is getting in the way of whatever I feel like doing right now, and therefore you're getting yelled at. And that's a lot of people. So it's like, yeah, I'm not going to get in a fucking street fight with a guy for tailing me, but I will slow down. I will slow down. I was at a place that I play at sometimes, and it was, I remember when that place first opened, the first thing I thought was, it's opening day, they'll get their shit together, whatever. Now I played there, it's been open for 2 years. Dude, there was nobody in that. I played on a Monday night. There was nobody in this place. And yet, people were walking in, sitting at tables, and just walking out because nobody was coming up to them. The bartender's at the bar. Dude, it's this gigantic room. There's a server. There's a hostess. There's a bartender. There's a bar back, and there's a manager. And people were literally walking in, sitting for 10 minutes, and then just leaving. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting paid regardless. But just from the intangible standpoint of the situation, it is kind of grueling to play to nobody for 4 fucking straight hours.
Yeah.
And so if you guys could, I don't know, maybe just do your job, then it would make my night slightly more tolerable, you know? And I'm looking at this hostess, and she's literally full on 2 headphones, not 1 ear pod, not like I'm half invested in this job, 2 ear pods. First, she's watching wrestling. She's watching professional, like TNA wrestling,
So,
WWF,
Yes.
Young women do that?
which honestly kind of, that was like a check in that. I was like, okay, I made a lot of assumptions about you.
Yeah.
This is not in my list.
Throw her a bone on that one, dude.
Yeah.
I gave her that.
Yeah.
I gave her that. And even with that, she still ended up in the red at the end of the night with me. She's full on 2 ear pods in, FaceTiming her friend for 45 minutes. My whole set. Just sitting there like, yeah, yeah. And then the fucking girl's like hitting her jewel, like, yeah, I don't know what she was saying, but I imagine it was a lot of that. And so she's like that, and I'm looking at these guys sitting over there. The bartender's at the fucking bar just talking to these other 2 girls. She's like, yeah, you know, so basically, you know, I just work here. And like, it's like, whatever.
I basically run this whole bar.
Yeah, I mean, like, whatever. And then, so I'm looking at that, and I'm sitting here, the only fucking douchebag in this whole place that's working, and I don't even work here. I'm the only person in this whole bar that's working. I'm sitting up here playing fucking Jack Johnson like an asshole while the hostess is FaceTiming her friend. The bartender's talking to two girls at the bar, and these two idiots, and the only reason I let them go that long was because it was like two young, fratty looking white dudes that were sitting at a table. And I was like, dude, first of all, that's a very weak move. When two men go to a bar together, you don't sit at a
You don't sit at a
fucking
table.
Yeah.
table.
You don't sit at
That
a
is
table.
weak
You can't
as
face
fuck.
each other.
You almost deserve to not be helped. I was kind of looking at them like, maybe these bartenders are actually based as fuck. And they're like, I ain't helping these two fucking idiots. You come sit at the bar like grown men next to each other.
parallel to each other, looking out into the distance like two hunters on the savannah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you don't say a word
You
to
don't
each
look
other.
at each other. When you and I went to McGurk's after we were double booked.
Yeah.
Did we get a fucking booth?
Fuck no. We sat
Did we
at
get
the
a
bar.
fucking booth and stare? I don't even think I made eye contact with you the whole fucking time. We sat next to each other like this. You sat here. We drank our beers. Multiple conversations. Maybe I looked at you like once. That's what men do.
There was a glance.
There was glances.
Yeah.
Maybe it'd be like, you need another beer, how you're getting food, whatever, stuff like that. But that's how you conduct yourself. So those guys kind of deserved it. The family of four didn't deserve it. There's a rule of three when it comes to going out to bars. If you have more than three people, a table is acceptable. But three people, you can sit at a bar with three people. Two people, definitely not. And one person, I worked in the service industry for several years. There's nothing more depressing than a one person sitting at a table. It's kind of cool and like mysterious when you sit at the bar as one guy. And as I get older, I kind of start to more and more enjoy it. I just kind of walk into a bar,
Yeah.
sit alone at the bar, and people are just like, what's this guy's story? I have to know.
Yeah.
You know?
I think he's a bounty hunter.
You know,
That dog?
their assumptions run wild when you go rogue. When you fly Dutch into a bar, dude. You start, people want to know, but like when you sit at a table, it's all the opposite thoughts. They're like, this guy's
He's lonely.
definitely
Yeah.
this guy is not a bounty hunter. He might be getting bounty hunted as we speak.
He is the prey.
Maybe that guy at the bar is looking for this guy at the table.
He's a prime target right now. I want to assassinate him.
Someone should. But no, so eventually it got to the point. Well, I'll let John take his piss here. Let's drop our sponsor. This halfway point of the story is brought to you by Mick Ultra. Mick Ultra. Buy it and then start calling it MK Ultra.
Yeah, hashtag MK Ultra.
And see how much of a hit you become at your next party. Just start calling it that. There's got to be something quicker though, because you can't be like, "Yo, let me get an MK Ultra," because then it sounds like you're trying too hard to like make it a thing.
You can't get the joke without saying the whole thing, though.
There's got to be like an intermediary between saying Michelob Ultra, and then there's MK Ultra. You could say like Mickey Ultra.
But that just sounds like you're making fun of Irish
Mick
people.
Ultra.
Yeah.
Then you're not gonna get it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good bit, unfortunately. I'm all for making fun of the Irish, but that's just not the way to do it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's fine. We dropped our sponsor, so we're good.
Who's our sponsor?
MK Ultra.
Oh, okay.
The beer.
MK Ultra.
The beer.
Go on a run. Drink a beer.
Only 99 calories.
Subvert democratically elected governments in Chile.
So, finally, I see these guys sitting over there, and even I, as hateful as I am of their decision to sit alone at a table together, I started to feel bad for them. And in mid-song, I turned to the hostess and I said, "Excuse me," and the hostess said, "Yeah." So anyway, I was just like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Excuse me," and she's like, "Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say." Because like honestly, sometimes when they do that, I'm just like, "No, thanks."
And
I
you're
was
like doing this over the mic and the PA.
No. I went,
okay, just-
okay, so the
that would've
hostess.
I thought this was like from stage.
Oh, no, well, it was from stage. I'm here, but the hostess stand is right next to me. So
From
she's standing next to me the
stage,
whole
off
time.
mic.
Gotcha,
She's standing next to me the whole time. So I just had to lean off the mic. I tried to get her attention twice, and finally I had to hit. I know I rarely have to do this. I had to hit the tap, the elbow tap. Excuse me.
Oh.
Excuse me. And then she looked, what? Attitude. Attitude.
Well, she's
Mark
trying to
it
show
down.
off her friend on FaceTime.
Yeah. She made sure I was in the camera too. Like, wait, look at this. What? I was like, hi.
Oh, she pulled you in frame?
This
No,
old
no.
man just touched me. Look.
And then I go, I'm like, do they have a server? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, they do? And she was like, yeah. And then she just goes back to talking again. Those guys sit there for 10 more fucking minutes not talk to. And this is the thing. This is why I joke about it a lot. But there's a sprinkle of truth to every joke. And when I say that sometimes I wish we could lower minimum wage, yes, I'm joking. But no, sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm not joking. I have never understood. And this, I'm glad you're on this podcast, Joe, because this is a conversation that needs to be had.
Yeah, I think they're lowering your percentage for the payouts.
Shit.
When I was working at Seasons Pizza, I took a personal vested I don't want to say interest,
An
but
oath.
I felt personally responsible for how that business was running while I was on the clock. Not necessarily because I had this goody two shoes, well, I'm on the job, coach, what can I do next? But just because I was like, if I'm going to fucking be somewhere all day and this is going to be my income.
Yeah, they're literally paying me to be here. I might as well try.
Why would I not at least try to make it work a little bit? Wouldn't I make more money if people aren't walking out of the door instead of being served? Wouldn't we get more business there, and then I could become a bartender as opposed to a hostess FaceTiming, which she probably doesn't even want to fucking become a bartender. She probably just wants to have the job where you fucking FaceTime at the stand. But I've never understood this, it's kind of even in social situations, I've always kind of gotten, I get, secondhand embarrassment and anxiety really badly when I'm in social situations and someone else is being kind of weird. I feel like personal responsibility to kind of make it not weird. I feel like I have to go out of my way to like when they say something stupid, I'm like, yeah, totally. Yeah, I get what you to not make it have that awkward silence. And there's a lot of people that'll just let it fall and be awkward. But it's well, if I have to be in this room, I'm going to choose not to be in a weird room. And I'm going to do everything in my power to try to make this social situation bearable. Same way with jobs. How do you sit there? Okay, you're FaceTiming your friend, you're not paying attention, you're 21 years old, you don't fucking give a shit, you don't need the money, whatever.
That's when you need the most money.
But depending on your situation.
I agree, yeah.
Depending on your situation. But when somebody actually brings to your attention, hey, something's not working right now, and then instead of having even the faintest level of concern or responsibility for what's going on in your place of work, you simply brush it off and go back to what you're doing. I can't understand that. And there's a lot of people that are like that. And it's I'm sorry, that's a reality of the world that and there's this attitude, there's this thing that has been, I don't know, I think it's either a millennial and Gen Z thing or mostly a Gen Z thing, but it's kind of both because I've said this several times, but I do believe that millennials are the last generation to have actually bought the dream, to actually believe in the American dream. And I think that Gen Z is the first generation since then to be yeah, this is actually kind of bullshit, a little bit. So I do relate more to Gen Z in that aspect. But this thing, they call it quiet quitting. Mm-hmm. And it's basically just this idea where you have this job that sucks. You don't give a shit about it. And it's a thing to just show up and just do the bare minimum because fuck your boss, fuck this, fuck that, whatever. And
if anything, minimum wage encourages that behavior.
Yeah, but it's definitely a chicken versus the egg thing, dude.
Because if I was getting paid $25, literally when I used to work at fucking Qdoba and shit at the movie theater when I was an usher, it's they made sure to give me the minimum wage. They didn't even offer 25 cents extra, so I knew that they weren't valuing me. So I was why the fuck would I? I'm going to do my job and I'm going to do a good job, but why go above and beyond for a company that is from the get-go trying to fuck me over?
But what ultimately, this idea, because I would say the same thing about myself when I was 19 and working my first jobs. What value do you actually have at that age? You have no work experience. You have no, you haven't acquired any of the actual skills in that field. You're starting out as a minimum wage worker. And it's kind of this weird sense of entitlement to just walk into a place and be you're not paying me what I'm worth. And it's oh, I'm not? Because if you're telling me that you're worth this amount, then I would assume you could go and get that amount. But that's not the case. So how much I talk about this with gigs all the time. It's like if I were to walk into a place and be like, dude, a solo is $500, and they're like, we can't give you that. I'm like, well, that's how much I'm worth. I'm worth $500. And they would be like, okay, then I guess maybe you should play at a bar that's going to pay you $500 for 3 hours. And then I would go, oh wait, yeah, nobody's paying me $500 for 3 hours. Maybe I'm not worth that.
I think that makes sense in a vacuum. Like if you are just starting a job and you've already agreed these are your duties and these are your wages, then yes, you should put forward an effort that reflects that. But
At the moment you find out everyone else gets paid more than you.
sure, or maybe you find out the people who run the place are rude alcoholics, or maybe you find out that all the customers are rude alcoholics. It's something like that. You know, it can't be totally separated from the social situation. And I don't think to some degree, you can make the liquid liberal free market thing where it's like, we'll just leave and do something else. But at the same time, while you're there, you don't have to be putting forward your best effort every single time to make the place better, quote unquote, if it seems obvious that it's not really going to do much.
Well, yeah, no, I agree. If you find yourself, because this is the other aspect of that conversation I was going to bring up, is that when I noticed that no one else at Watershed was doing their job, I kind of got in my own head. I was like, you know, maybe I will take a fucking 35-minute break. Nobody cares. Nobody notices. Nobody gives a fuck. And it was kind of this like principled thing where I had to force myself not to do that, because I was like, you know what? That's likely what's going on with everyone else in this building, which is that they are in an environment where nobody gives a fuck, and then it's a waste of time for you to give a fuck when everyone else around you doesn't give a fuck, and you just feel like you're putting out too much effort for not enough back. So I understand the thought process of being in a situation where you feel like you're undervalued, and that kind of reflecting into your actual work ethic. At the same time, what I don't understand is the kind of contentment that a lot of people seem to have with being in that situation. Like when you find yourself in a situation when you're not being paid as much as you wish you were, or you feel like you're worth more than what you're being given, or you feel like your efforts are wasted on this job place that, you know, it doesn't matter because no one else gives a fuck. Simply taking the tact of being like, well, fuck it, I guess I just won't do shit either. It's like, okay, while you're there, but if you're not constantly trying to put yourself in a position where that's not your situation, then you're also just as bad as them. It's like if you find yourself in a job where you feel undervalued, you know, in the same way that you wake up and clock into work and give them 8 hours of your day, those other 16 hours of your day, you should clock in and fucking give yourself the time of day to improve your situation, as opposed to just accepting that my job sucks and I'm underemployed. And it's like, first of all, if you go your entire life underemployed, you weren't underemployed. You were exactly where you needed to be.
Yeah.
You can only claim to be underemployed for so long. You can't be underemployed for 20 years. Maybe that's just what you're worth. Maybe your idea of what you thought you were worth was here, and reality said, no, it's here. And your whole life you've been going, dude, I'm so underemployed. And you're like, no, I think the longer you go, the more this starts to become that. And now you're right where you need to be, it seems like, because
underemployed is like slang for class-based inferiority complex. That's how I interpret that. It's like, I got this education and I paid this money for a degree, and therefore I deserve a specific spot in the social hierarchy. There might just not be enough jobs to fill the number of people or the number of undergrads who are being produced. But as far as showing up and giving effort, going back to the original point, I don't know. I guess I am imagining those people who are in college right now. Like, say you're studying to be like an engineer or something, and you work as like a busboy or something. I don't think you need to be going, you know, Six Pistons the entire time you're there to be a fucking busboy, because ultimately being a busboy doesn't matter. And you should be putting most of your efforts and energy towards doing the things that align with your ambitions. You know, when you're in that restaurant and you're playing guitar and everybody else is not working very hard, it's because they don't care about it. You care about playing guitar. You care about singing. That is totally in line with your values and who you want to be. Nobody else in that room feels that way.
Yeah.
What if she's gonna become a wrestler?
Yeah, I'm over here interrupting her. She's trying to learn moves on the
Yeah,
thing.
she was
She's trying to learn how
FaceTiming her
to.
coach.
She's like, yeah, girl. So anyway, when you get the arm like that, you want to hit him with a tombstone. She's like, yeah, totally. I totally agree. No, I would usually work the DDT in that situation, but no, I think tombstone makes more sense. The Boston Lobster. Okay, well that's a valid angle that I
What
did
if
not consider.
She got up after you tapped her shoulder and just fucking figure 4 leg locked her ass.
She's clearly studying.
Okay. So
While you were wiping tables, I was studying the blade.
So these are great points all around, which brings me to this next phase of the conversation, I think, which is you have ambitions. We've mentioned earlier, dreams become, whatever, but ambitions are forever. Maybe it's the reverse. Regardless. However, when I was 19, as you can tell, that's the age I use to describe myself at my dumbest, unless we're talking about 18. Obviously, I had ambitions. Obviously, my life goal wasn't to work at Seasons Pizza. But there was a respect that came from, and I think a lot of this comes down to just how people look at their bosses and how they see business owners in general.
Yeah,
I think
you're in a different situation than some people though too, because you worked at Seasons, which was like a local chain, but it was owned by Matt and Pete.
Yeah,
and you knew the owners, you knew the bosses, and it was a small kind of work environment.
Yes.
But if you're a fucking greeter at Walmart, you're just some cog in some giant machines. Corporate overlords like states away don't even know you fucking exist.
Yeah.
Are you really gonna fucking put in your best effort?
Yeah, totally. And I'm even granting that, like, yes, when I play at places that are like corporate owned and stuff, and I've never met the owner, I never met anybody, the manager just writes the check, it's not his money. Like, it's some guy on high that just like said, yeah, we want music 5 to 8. First of all, those are the same places that'll just cancel you at the drop of the hat too. So it's like, okay, whatever. Like I will be a little bit more lax. Like maybe I'll start a little bit later than I would. I mean, not that I ever try to start late, but it just happens. But like I'll be less worried about it if it's like a gig that I just know that like it's a corporate gig. Like they don't give a shit. They wouldn't even know if I didn't show up, honestly. I'd probably still get a check in the mail if I just didn't show up. Like that kind of thing, I'm definitely more lax than when I am playing at a bar where I know the owner. And like, because now you're actually taking this guy's money. Like when that guy hands you a check, that's the equivalent of him reaching into his pocket and saying, here's $300 for playing here, versus some manager that's like, oh, what your name was? And then they like stamp it with some other guy's signature and give you the check. So I get all that. But I think in general, I think the corporate world breeds that attitude, because I think what happens is it separates you so far from what you're actually doing and who you're actually doing it for, that you start to just exist in this kind of realm of like, what I'm doing literally doesn't matter. What if you have a job where you genuinely feel like you could just not show up and no one would notice? What does that do to the psyche? I mean, I think on the surface, people think like, oh, that would be sweet just to like be able to fuck off. But it's like, what does that do to your sense of self-worth when you have a job that like you literally feel like it makes no difference? Like you're just... You're like one step above welfare at that
There's
point.
people who have like they do like 2 jobs at once. So they have their full-time job and then you can go work for like Google, where you really are like just you could be lost in the system and still make a full-time salary. But like you can fuck off at that and you still get like double pay.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's people do that. But it's like that's a whole other thing, but like I totally agree. It's like if somebody's just there willing to pay you, but like you're just like some little itty part of it. If you're working as like an usher at like AMC movie theater, it's like there's this huge umbrella of like a thing, or like you're a fucking greeter or a cashier at Walmart. Like,
yeah, I mean, now that I'm thinking about the movie theater thing, it's like there is a immediate notice of you not doing your job if you're an usher, because a movie's gonna let out and a new one's gonna go in and there's trash everywhere. But like, yeah, if you're just a fucking like security guard for a parking lot and every system is automated, Like, there's a fucking pay machine. Like, you don't even have to
Oh,
interact
they're
with the
sitting
customer.
there watching wrestling the whole time.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, and they're like, the one-way mirror glass, there could not even be a guy in there and no one would notice. And it wouldn't even matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just think I always looked at it. It's like I
Give me that job.
I see both sides of everything. I think that a lot of that, when you take on that attitude, it's like, I am a firm believer in how you do anything is how you do everything. And I think if it's like I said, if you're going to be doing something, it doesn't mean you have to go above and beyond, but just like, for instance, like you have a great situation working with Joey. And the thing is, it's like going back to the whole like chicken versus the egg of like, pay me more and I'll do more versus like, well, why don't you show that you're worth more and then I'll give you more? Those are both equally valuable things in my opinion, because on one end, it's like, well, if you think you can do better, then why don't you be the one that takes out the risk of starting a business and renting a fucking property and sign that lease for $10,000 a month and hope that you're going to make that in people coming into your restaurant and deal with all the shit of having to do everyone's taxes and having to hire accountants and lawyers and hire people and managers and deal with all that shit. If you think you're better than that, then you can do that. But if you're not going to do that, then have some respect, I guess, for like.
I don't agree with that at all. You're talking about making no, there are huge barriers to entry to starting a restaurant. You have to have like an obscene amount of capital ready to go, and some people just don't have access to that. So maybe that was just a bad example, because I get what you're saying, Jimmy. When you're like, there is like something that is not worth doing right isn't worth doing. I agree with that sentiment a lot, but Eric was also alluding to an interesting point earlier, which is that, sometimes you just got to choose your battles, and sometimes it's just not worth it. I guess I go into this conversation in navigating that tension with this idea that we have like limited energy with which to confront problems in our lives, and you need to spend that energy smartly, because if you try to do it all the time, you're just not going to do anything as well as you could have, and it's better to optimize than to go hard on the paint all the time on all of these different ethical questions.
Yes. Okay. So you're right. Maybe the starting a restaurant thing isn't the best example, but if you look at like, for instance, like it doesn't, first of all, restaurants specifically, yes, it's a large amount of capital, but contracting, if you're working as a drywall hanger for some other dude's company and you think that guy treats you like shit, you can either choose to work for that guy and be discontent, or you can go out and get your own gigs hanging drywall. What do you need, a fucking drill in the fucking truck and some shit? Like at a certain point, like, it does cost capital to start a business. I had to buy all that music. I had to buy thousands of dollars worth of speakers and cords and guitar and all that shit. Like, and you have to have your drums. You have to have your instruments. Like, there's a reason why most people don't start a business and just work for someone else's business. And it's not knock either way if you choose to do one or the other, but there has to be a certain amount of understanding that it's like, look, at your job, like Joey has given you raises over the years, I imagine, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's probably because you've been obviously through thick and thin, his longest employee, I would say at this point, and his right-hand man, and you're good at your job. And there's probably also been through the years that you've been there, other people that have worked for him that kind of didn't put forward their best effort, kind of expecting that like, well, if you want me to do more, then maybe, I deserve this or I deserve that. And then it winds up not working out. And I think that the reason why you have that relationship with him versus the Cinemark thing is because of that attachment. Like, Joey, you see what he's doing, you have respect for what he's doing. It's the same way, like, I used to take 10% off gigs and stuff when we did bands, and then I stopped because I was like, well, we're all like, at a certain point I was like, if we're doing the band now, we just put in the band fund and stuff like that. But that was entirely because of like, I saw that like everyone was carrying their weight. Like if somebody was just showing up and just like leaving, not loading in, not packing out, I would have been like, yeah, well, they just get the fucking it's just like, that's the way I always looked at it. It's like, it is hard. It's a hard kind of thing to go like, if you pay me more, I'll do more versus, well, in order for me to reach it in my pocket and give you more money, you have to show me that you're worth something. And I think a lot of it comes from this sense of, I don't know if entitlement's the perfect word for it, but there is this kind of sense of entitlement that I think a lot of people have where they just assume that they are worth a certain amount with no logical basis for thinking that. Like there's no actual real world basis for the assessed worth the assessed value, your self-appraisal of how much you're worth, that's based in reality. You just have that number in your mind. And then whenever it's not met, you look at it as someone's fucking you over. And that's not necessarily the case. In fact, usually it's not the case. I highly doubt that if the manager, the corporate owner of that restaurant I was playing at, walked up to the hostess and said, "Hey, I'm going to give you a $2 raise," that she would hang up the FaceTime call and walk over to the table immediately and be like, "Hey, it's not normally like my job to get drinks, but I think the bartender's busy, trying to get laid. So I'm going to, what can I get you guys to drink?" Like just that sense of like urgency, that sense of like wanting to, I highly doubt that, because there's as much as you want to factor in the monetary aspect of things, there's also an element of there are just different types of people. And that type of person that I watched, I don't think that's a product of her environment. I think that she would be like that no matter where she worked, which is why she will continue to probably not have a successful career, which is then like, okay, but that'll be the same person that'll sit there after making shitty wages for end on end and constantly be sitting there being like, man, they should pay me more. Mm-hmm. Why should they pay you more?
I think it's totally dependent on what your ambitions are, like what games you're playing. You chose to pay us because we shared an ambition and we were all playing the same game. But when I was getting up at 6 a.m. to work at a deli before I went to school for 3 hours, and then I came home and then I worked on music for 2 hours, I was seeing that minimum wage job as a component towards the other games I was playing, much longer games, where I was focused on developing skills and creating products that I could be proud of. So it really just depends. If you are at some dumb job like that and you're just seeing it as, money and an end in itself, and you're like, yeah, I can kind of take or leave this, I think that's totally fine as long as it's serving some higher aim, And it doesn't even have to be that grand. It doesn't even have to be creative. It can just be like, I just want to support my family, and that's it. And I can kind of check in and check out, and that's that. You might not live the happiest life that you could, but it's not unethical, I don't think.
What's not unethical? Like
giving
minimum effort.
Minimum wasn't the word I was looking for, but I still think I would agree with that.
You're like what the fuck is it called?
Like withheld effort, like not going full.
Yeah,
you're min-maxing.
But still performing.
Yes, min-max.
Still performing your job.
You're playing a game. You're in Skyrim. Sometimes you're not going to learn alchemy in certain playthroughs because you're too focused on archery.
Or it's like
But in the meantime, some guy's paying you to learn alchemy.
This week,
so you're taking his money.
This week of work, like I can figure out how to do this in 2-hour bursts over the next 3 days instead of taking the whole 4 or 5 days.
Sure. Yeah.
And then use the other time to,
Yeah, I think
go to the bathroom or something.
The major distinction is definitely how much of a relationship you have with the person paying you. I think that, because if you were to apply that same example, it would be like if you were saying, like, when we were playing music and you were like, yeah, I'll play these gigs with you, but ultimately I want to do like whatever if you had some other ambition or something, and I'd be like, all right, well, that's great that you have that other ambition, but in the meantime, I'm paying you to do this. And so if there was a person who was just showing up and just like fucking just this is boring, and then fucking just dip in, showing up late, leaving early and stuff like that, I'd be like, yeah, dude, I get you have other things, but in the meantime, I'm paying you money to do this thing.
Well,
so you can have money.
Jimmy, why can't they just fire them?
I mean, I would.
I mean, yeah, you would, but like at the same time, so can these bosses. They also can do that. So I just wouldn't really put it on the workers. I mean, obviously,
I would agree. I think that goes to show how much they care.
Yeah,
true.
That's
how much the bosses care.
To let it atrophy,
or
to let it work.
There's
Yeah.
a manager there. Like, why wasn't the manager doing shit about any of this?
Yeah. That's the other, like, I feel like that
because he's another one. Yeah,
that's a top down thing. Like,
Yeah.
if you see that your manager or your owner or your boss, whatever, like really cares, then you go, okay. Like, I feel like you can kind of infer that. Like, you take that in and you go, okay. Like, if they care, then so should I. And I think there's like they're not like hovering over your shoulder, being like, hey, you need to check out these 2 frat guys at the table. Make sure they're not, couple of weirdos.
Yeah.
But it's like, just show that you care a little bit. I think like from the top down, because then it's like, then you take that in and you go, okay, maybe I should give a shit about like cleaning up after these people when they fucking throw their popcorn on the floor, or like, don't like. I don't know. It's just
And not just care about the work environment, care about the people who are working for you too. Because I've had
Yeah.
people who get one but not the other, and
Yeah.
it's I don't want to put in effort.
Yeah.
When both of those aren't in place.
Get the work environment, but not the.
Yeah, I've had some bosses who are like very caring about the people, but they're really lazy about like enforcing like work standards. And I've had the opposite issue where they're kind of tight asses. They're really good on work standards, but they're assholes, you know. And I just don't
Yeah.
want to work for them.
Yeah. Okay.
it's a hard
there's
balance to
many
strike.
things that needs to be in place. And
I mean,
also,
it's like a very human thing to also just want to be acknowledged for your effort.
Yeah,
So it's like,
absolutely.
if that's just not happening, then you're gonna go sour.
I feel like that's
Yeah.
the hardest thing about working in the restaurant industry. And I mean, to a certain degree, I feel like being a musician is it's a step above because people will actually be like, "Hey, good job." But like when you work in the restaurant industry, it is a thankless job.
yeah.
You learn like
I think
utterly
anyone's ever
replaceable.
thanked that
Utterly
host.
replaceable.
Like, you know, the way you scheduled my table for 3 at 7:30, you did that like nobody else. No one's saying that. To them.
no, and it's not like it's warranted, but it's also like
Yeah, but it's like it's a thankless job.
it really is. And all like throughout, I feel like as a bartender, you probably get thanked the most
You get thanked-
because you get to FaceTime of like you make these drinks for you open the
You
bottle
know who
for
gets
them.
thanked the most at a restaurant? Probably fucking busboy, just pouring up waters at a table.
Oh, for sure.
probably
Oh,
Like they
true.
get the most
Honestly.
thanks in the fucking restaurant,
alright.
and they're probably the least paid.
yeah.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But
I've
honestly,
worked just
that
about every
helps your
job.
morale a little bit, honestly.
Yeah. It does. Because you pour water for some dude. I poured water in one of the first times I ever worked. I poured water in somebody's vodka drink, and I learned the hard way the difference in cups.
Yeah.
I was like, not every cup is the same.
They were like,
This dude was so
no,
good.
thank
He's
you.
like, "Are you fucking kidding me? That was my vodka Sprite." And I was like, "Oh fuck, shit, dude. We'll get you another Smirnoff and Sprite, dude. We'll fucking figure
relax.
it out."
Yeah, I know. Relax. Restaurant industry is definitely the one of all industries that is probably. I think that when I say I like the idea in Greece, for instance, that when you turn 18, you have to fulfill 1 year of compulsory military service. I would also
In America, it should be retail or fucking
you
the
should have
restaurant
to
industry.
work with people for 1 year of your life as part of your. It's amazing the things that you learn that aren't considered part of education. Like I always think back in the old days, like how much they like valued like teaching music and like teaching the arts to kids.
Yeah.
Because it's like now it's like the education system has gotten so like watered down to like it's like math, English, this, that, and you're like, but like if I think of like the most learning experiences of my life, it usually wasn't in those
school?
scenarios.
Yeah, no.
It was by going out and experiencing. It's amazing. I mean, it's not amazing. It makes sense because I think that this education system suffers from the same exact phenomenon that we were just discussing for the past however
Yeah.
long we were.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, but like, I don't know. It just. What are you gonna do? Complacency breeds complacency. I only brought any of that up just to make sure that when you find yourself in that situation, you can be in a situation full of losers, but the clock starts ticking until you become one as well. If you're not working towards not being one of them,
Yeah, your network is your net worth. Is that where you're going with this?
that's not going. Which is why I respect hustle culture so much more than quiet quitting culture. You should. There's a million. Jay-Z said it, and I think he's maybe the most overrated rapper of all time. But he said, it. "There's a million ways to get it. There's a million ways to make money, dude. There's all kinds of ways to make money, dude. You know, so figure it the fuck out." And in the meantime, check on that table. Jesus Christ. Last thing, unless anybody had any things they wanted to touch upon. This is.
I got a story, but I might save it for next week
Oh, you think so?
because I'll have a follow up to it when I
true.
get home.
He's putting it on ice. Put that story on ice.
Yeah, put that in the freezer.
This is a listener request topic from our boy Trevor Job, who was not too happy that we took our little hiatus. He wasn't not happy. He was like, "Dude, I've been checking every day for like the past 2 weeks. What the fuck are you guys doing?" I was
Damn.
like, "Sorry, Trevor." But he wanted me to discuss this movie, which I was not going to discuss, only because I think it is the most ridiculous controversy. It is weird at this point in pop culture. There are two main movies that are in the headlines. There's Barbie and there's Sound of Freedom, right? And it is weird how those two movies have
They're
become.
gonna say Barbie and Oppenheimer.
That's what I thought he was gonna.
Yeah, but I would
to.
say in terms of like public discourse over like they're like politicized. Like Barbie has become politicized.
Oppenheimer is literally a movie about politics.
Yeah, but I haven't seen people really like say like
I'm just kidding.
the normal shit they would say, like this shit's fucking woke. And then the other people being like, no, you're a pussy. Like the kind of like they're like Oppenheimer's just a good movie. And I feel like most people when they discuss Oppenheimer, I've discussed Oppenheimer with my liberal friends, I've discussed it with my conservative friends, and everybody's just pretty much, yeah, that was a good movie. Like I have no like I saw that movie and it was like the fucking Fastlane conversation. I was like, good movie, no marks. We're good. Next topic. But Barbie and Sound of Freedom have become almost like these litmus tests, I would say. When you talk to people, like Alex's coworker was saying, like she went to go see Barbie, and then she was talking to her other coworkers, and she was like, "Yeah, I didn't like it." And then the first thing the girl said was like, "Oh, you must be a conservative." And it's like weird that you would make that jump. Now I haven't seen Barbie yet. I will watch it.
I watched it on Monday. It was actually really good,
Okay, cool.
and it was
Are you
all the
liberal?
I guess so. I kept seeing people like have these crazy like down the rabbit hole like posts about Barbie, and literally the movie has nothing to do with any of that weird projected shit.
Yeah, I think that and in the same way, the movie Sound of Freedom, which I hadn't watched.
The only thing I know about that movie is they're like astroturfing the fuck out of it.
What does that mean?
They're buying a bunch of tickets for empty theaters to make it look like it's doing good in the box office, but in reality, it's a bunch of like weird billionaires who are just pushing a number to go higher.
The thing is, I kind of had the way you're describing watching Barbie and just kind of seeing it and being like, what was everybody talking about? I watched it last night because I knew that we were going to do the podcast today. I was like, all right, fine, I'll fucking watch it.
So you watched Barbie last night?
No, I watched
Sound
of Freedom last night. I was going to try to catch it matinee today at the movies, but I usually run my business, my offshore accounts during the day, my sports business. I run my sports business during the day. So I was like, I'm not going to have that. I simply am not going to have the time to walk across the street to Cinemark and watch this movie when the Angels are playing at 1. I'm just not going to have that kind of time. So I was like, all right, I'll do this old school. I will fucking download this on Pirate Bay. And I got the worst rip of a movie maybe ever. It had like an advertisement in the top, and then like every like 25 minutes there would be a full-fledged commercial in the middle for like some
my
slots
God.
company in Europe. And
Hell
then there would
yeah.
also be like pop-ups during the movie. Like you'd be watching and there'd be like a full-fledged like guy popping up and like playing poker and being like slots.com. Dude,
Hell
it was
yeah.
I've never
Love
seen
that.
Honestly,
That's
if that was in the real movie, I would watch it right now.
Dude, I've never seen anything like it, honestly. Because obviously we all grew up in that era.
Someone like screen recorded like watching it off one of those like movie streaming sites,
It was
and then
all-
uploaded it to the Pirate Bay.
It was one watch away, or it was one notch away from being unwatchable. Not the movie itself, but the thing that I downloaded because it was just
quality.
so distracting. The audio sucked.
I think the worst cam I ever downloaded, like cam rip movie, I think it was the Yu-Gi-Oh movie, because it was still like
Nice.
back in the day when you had to be like a closet nerd. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I'm still that way now just because that's how I was born and raised.
When we
But
get another one, man?
Back then,
Yeah.
you couldn't admit you liked anything that was cool and fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like by third grade, you're like, I don't play Pokemon anymore. I am straight. But I remember I downloaded the Yu-Gi-Oh movie, and the camera was like tucked in between this guy's man boobs for the whole movie, so it was like jiggling a little bit the whole time, and then you could just hear him mouth breathing into the mic over the whole movie. It was insane.
That's
incredible.
I almost watched it out of respect for that era.
Yeah.
Like that kind of like YouTube, like that kind of like cam recorded era. Cause I was like, there's very few times in my life when I'm going to get this experience again. I might as well
Yeah.
enjoy it while it's here. You know, this is a dying art. The bootleg is a dying art. I
It
remember
really is.
This
When I
kid-
worked at the movie theater, we almost kicked a woman out because we thought she was trying to bootleg like an Annabelle movie or some shit. Because she brought in a giant doll that looked like one of the eyes was a video camera lens.
My God.
And yeah, almost kicked someone out.
that is hustle culture. She's grinding. You think she's quiet quitting? No thanks.
No, sir.
She
Dude,
brought in
Noah's-
a separate person. She bought a ticket for that doll to fucking rip this movie.
That made me remember for the Planet of the Apes like remake movies. Those movies were so big and they put so much money into those movies. Warner Brothers hired people all opening weekend to sit in the back of the theaters at Cinemark. And they did this at every movie theater and around across the country. They literally put like undercover fucking narcs in the movie theaters to make sure no one was
Wow.
like recording any of the movies.
Had guys
The
dress up like
Cinemarshal.
the cinema.
Pretty much.
Had guys dress up like typical movie
Dude, like
goers,
fucking, like,
a
air
high school guy in
marshals.
it.
Talk about a good job to not give a fuck.
Right?
Yeah. You just show up and you're like, I didn't see anybody.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Didn't quite
Great
catch it.
movie.
Yeah, great movie. Good job, Warner. Great movie. Didn't
Both of
see.
you. Both brothers.
If anybody bootlegs this, I'd be surprised.
The apes have a
Crazy the
point.
bootleg is from my angle and the exact seat.
So with this particular movie, I am beside myself with what this is where I think like, you know, these manufactured controversies come from. Like
Yeah.
I-
I mean, it sounds like the Sound of Freedom you saw was the slot machine sound.
Cha-ching! That sounds like freedom
Hollywood
to me.
casinos.
That sounds like
argue.
freedom to me, baby. No, it was a good movie, and I am at a loss for words as to what the politicization about it was. There was not even the slightest mention of anything that I can recall of anything political. It was literally about, it took place in like Honduras, and there was this girl and her brother who were like abducted by this woman who's like a child trafficker. She's like this like model looking chick that like lures kids in, telling them to be actors. And then she was like shipped to another country and like sold into sex slavery. And then this guy finds one of them, and then he makes his mission to go into Colombia and like rescue this other girl. He like fights off some like cartel, and then he
It sounds
rescues
like
the kids. It's
Taken
honestly,
or some shit.
dude, it's a good fucking movie, and it's weird. It's weird that like I said, the politicization of things. It's like I almost feel like if you say it's a good movie, then it's like someone in the rafters and be like, you're a fucking conservative. And it's like, I don't even understand why it even became, I almost wonder if it was done on purpose by the marketing company to try to make this like this is a,
Make it a bigger deal.
yeah,
than
like
it
this is a right-wing movie,
Yeah.
and then they would tap into that market that we're going to see it. But I genuinely, there's plenty of movies. I all the time you watch movies and like you can always see some type of political agenda one way or the other being jammed in. This had to be the most neutral movie I've ever seen in my life, and I don't understand the controversy about it whatsoever. And there's a lot of people in the same way that a lot of conservative people probably just won't watch Barbie because of the politicization. That's a crazy word. We need to
But
make a
here's the
shorter
thing.
version of that
so
word.
I'm pretty sure the only reason people think it's like political is because they say the word patriarchy in it as like
Yeah.
a plot point. But in reality, it's not about that at all, because the ideas of patriarchy were totally misconstrued. And it really is just about a journey of self-discovery for a woman and her daughter, and then also a living action figure, a not real thing from a made-up place in the movie.
They're also being willfully ignorant about Ken's
Everything.
storyline, I think, because
Yeah.
they also kind of throw men a bone and talk about how, your ability or your value as a man isn't tied to your ability to acquire women, which is a weird talking point in like the manosphere red pill community. It's like you can just be yourself too,
It's also just very silly to be like, I don't know, a 30-plus-year-old man going to see Barbie and being like, I can't believe they didn't make this movie for me. I can't believe this movie for young girls wasn't made for me.
I would say the only thing you can really criticize it for is that like sometimes it comes off as a little heavy-handed. I guess you would want it to be more subtle sometimes, but like you said, it's not for you. And I think the one time it does feel a little heavy-handed, it kind of earns it, you know, and it's talking directly to its audience, which is not us. You know?
I mean, and it's also like real shit. Like, you know, the jokes about like, oh, you know, we're going to Mattel, the company that created Barbie, and then, oh, all their CEOs and executives are men. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of, you know, satire. That's what a lot of the world is like.
Sure.
A lot of men have been making business and whatever personal decisions for women for a very long time, and we're making a joke about it. And I'm sorry that offends you, I guess. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one, to be honest. I haven't seen the movie. But
I don't know. It's very crazy to me.
yeah, I think that just the dichotomy of these two movies have kind of been, from my angle, kind of like pitted against each other as like I said before, like litmus test of like where you align politically. And again, I as far as the argument goes with politicizing stuff in movies, it's definitely a thing. And it's one thing to kind of be like, oh, it's just like, again, I'm not even talking specifically about Barbie, but just in terms of movies that I have watched and shows on Netflix and things like that I have watched over the course of my life. It's very easy to kind of pick out the messagery that they're trying to put forward, and it's very easy to see when they're putting forth a certain narrative. Whether, I mean, because you don't, like, that's the point of a story. Like, yeah, you watch a movie about Hercules and it's like, okay, you know, you have like religion, you have Greek mythology, and all these, like, these stories, yes, they're made up, but they're trying to tell a bigger message. That's why we enjoy watching movies. It's not just to go in there in a vacuum and just watch this thing and be like, oh, that was a thing that has no relation to my life in any way, and certainly wasn't trying to make any statements on a broader scale. It's like, yeah, that exists. So I would have to watch Barbie particularly just to see what I pick out from there. I can already say I wouldn't be surprised that I would be able to, like, I would notice it, but it's just a matter at this point of how, like you said, heavy-handed it is, or like how alienating it becomes. Like, is it to the point where if you don't wholeheartedly agree with all of those values, that you would almost not even be able to enjoy the movie at that point? Maybe, I don't know. But as far as what I can speak to with what Trevor was saying about Sound of Freedom is, in this movie, I kind of expected that it would be like that in reverse. Like, okay, so Barbie's going to have the left-wing tinge to it, where it's going to have more of a liberal type of like worldview, and it's going to be reflected in the plot line and everything like that. I kind of expected that in Sound of Freedom, and it literally, there was nothing. It was probably the least, like, it was, I'm genuinely at a loss for how it was politicized in the first place, other than if the marketing team, which I'm not saying they did this, but in where we live in right now, I wouldn't be surprised, where they tried to be like, this is a good marketing angle to try to like make this like right-wing thing, and where now we're going to tap into that whole market and like be like, yo, this is like a movie you have to watch if you're a conservative, because it's like this, that, the third. And it's like, that honestly, it's the only possibility I can even hypothesize at this point. I was just genuinely surprised. It was a good movie, and it's crazy that so many people will watch it because of the political thing, and so many people won't watch it because of the political thing. When in reality, it's like, you know, I don't fucking know. But
yeah, like, did like a fucking, like, who? I'm trying to look at their Wikipedia now, because I'm like, who made the movie? Was it like
I know Jim
a very
Caviezel, who I don't,
person that did it?
yeah,
or
I don't
some
know if
shit?
it was like I don't even know what the controversy about it was.
It was
in general,
distributed by Angel Studios, which is a Mormon film distribution studio.
so maybe it was like because it's like a
It's religious or some
thing.
shit.
But like the opening credits, they start off with like fucking like shots of like real world shit, like where you, like security camera footage, like kids being abducted and stuff like that, and like they close out. Have you seen it, John?
I haven't seen it. I mean, I've seen enough about how the politicization of it.
Yeah,
But
you've seen the talk about it, but you haven't seen.
Yeah,
the
I've
actual
seen all the
thing.
talking heads be like, you should see that. Like if they're on the right, they're like, you should see this, and then I've seen people on the left be like,
Yeah,
this is a fucking whack ass movie. It's all it's all red pill bullshit. Like
Do they give like reasons or like cite any?
I don't
any
really-
plot
I don't-
points. I mean, it's.
I kind of
nonsense. I would
ignore
try
it
to
because it just
filter it out too. But yeah, I would just be curious because it doesn't sound like Barbie is very straightforward with like the message it's trying to tell, and you can kind of take or leave the argument. But I would say it's making a sophisticated argument that you can at least empathize with. But it
Yeah.
doesn't sound like that's what's going on in this movie at all. Which
Yeah,
is why I'm
it's
curious.
genuinely like it's an issue that you would think would be an issue that everyone would be on board with, and there's very few issues that I would ever say that about. I hate that when people do that, like when they're trying to express an opinion, they're like, "This is something like everyone should agree with," because I feel like it's kind of dishonest a little bit to be like, "All right, well, I feel like you're
Can be, yeah.
oversimplifying it a little bit by trying to make it ridiculous that anyone wouldn't agree with you." So that's not what I'm trying to say, but
human trafficking.
yeah, it's like
yeah,
it's right over the plate.
especially children.
Yeah.
It's like
they close out the movie with like a line that just says like, in the world today there are X amount of like children in sex slavery, blah 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 blah, and then it says there are more people enslaved now than any other period in history, including when slavery was legal, which from all accounts I've heard is true. And I don't even, maybe that's, I don't like, maybe the messagery, I feel like so this is the conspiracy, because you were trying to figure out what the conspiracy
What are
was.
they actually saying? Not even the conspiracy. I'm just curious what people are criticizing it for.
I think
because I haven't seen it, I don't really have an opinion yet.
The very far, like, I guess QAnon-esque, which I don't even know if QAnon exists anymore.
Are they tying it to like Pizzagate? That's what it seems like.
They're
it
not
does
tying it to
sound like.
Pizzagate, but I think what the Pizzagate type people are saying is that the reason why this movie isn't being received is because it's exposing something that's going on in the real world in Hollywood, and Hollywood doesn't want this movie to get out because it's exposing the things that they participate in, which is not the craziest argument when you consider the fact that we literally just caught Jeffrey Epstein 2 years ago, and it's like that never fucking happened. And it's like, look, like the idea that like, it's crazy how these things are all pitched as conspiracy theories, and then they stay that way. And then you literally go like, oh wait, this fucking gigantically influential billionaire guy was like actively running like an island where he would traffic young girls and stuff like that, and other elite people throughout the world will come in, like whatever. And it's like, yeah, that actually happened. And then he actually killed himself, which who knows? But it's like this is a real world thing. That wasn't a movie. Do we think that was a Netflix special 2 years ago that we just saw it happen? We're like, yeah, I remember that story. That was a thing that happened.
Wouldn't the best kind of like hiding in plain sight thing to do then, if you are that big guy controlling all the sex rings? What if you paid a lot of money to make a movie about human trafficking and astroturfed a bunch of tickets to make it look like it sold a lot of tickets and was a highly received movie? You
could do that. I mean, you could. I like that term, by the way, astroturfing it. You could do that, but I don't know if that would be the, like, I'm trying to think of like what the like as it stands today, everyone is aware that that goes on. And even after we get Epstein and then he's dies in prison conveniently before he's able to say anything about any of the other people that were involved, and then the world just kind of just moved past it. And it's like, okay, clearly this isn't like in the general, when you talk like the general issues that people talk about politically, unfortunately, child sex trafficking is not one of the big ones. People talk a lot about climate change. They talk a lot about immigration. They talk a lot about wages. They talk a lot about the economy, inflation, blah, blah, blah. I would say the child sex trafficking is like a tier 3 topic in political debates. So I don't
People don't disagree about it.
Yeah, people don't
Really.
disagree about it.
I maybe with the exception of this movie. I don't know.
That's the thing that's
guess,
crazy. It's
yeah.
like,
Yeah, that's what doesn't add up.
Like, we
really.
just
It's
watched,
like
but we just
nobody
watched
likes
before
child
this
sex trafficking.
We just watched before this podcast a whole piece about Nickelodeon and the stuff that was going on there. It's like Hollywood, first of all, is notorious for that shit. First of all, any industry is notorious for that shit, but Hollywood more so than most. I don't know why that is the case. I have a couple theories. I'm not going to bore
It's like
you
more
with.
scandalous because everyone knows who you're talking about. Like, no one's gonna care about that happening at a at fucking
At a fucking
PBR.
accounting firm.
Yeah, or like whatever. Like, I mean, it's salacious when it happens at a school because you can be like, oh my god, a teacher,
Yeah.
and a student. But you're not gonna be like, oh, the fucking CPA.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I think it's one of those things. Now I'm thinking about it. I think that the whole child sex slavery thing is one of those things that we don't talk about as much because I think in order for people to get amped up about something in a certain way, they kind of have to be able to see, like, okay, everyone can understand the whole wages thing because you can see both sides of it. You can see being the guy who wants to make more money working at a job, and you can also see being the guy who runs the company who doesn't want to pay more money to the guy working the job. So you understand both sides of the thing. You understand the motives. And then at that point, then you can decide to side with one or the other and be like, well, I'm more on the worker side or I'm more on the employer side. You can see the different angles at this issue, and then you can you understand it.
Yeah, it's a political choice as to how to address it.
I think the fact that there's a market for the child sex trafficking, I think because most people don't understand why there would be a market because they don't understand that there's people that want that. So it's like you can understand like when people talk about porn and it's like, yeah, well, I'm a guy, I watch porn, so I can engage in this conversation because I have an opinion on this actually. I actually have a real opinion. I have an opinion on working at a job and, seeing managers fuck the hostesses, and I can say whether I thought that was inappropriate or not inappropriate, and it varies case to case. But with the child thing, it's like, I think it's so foreign to people that even exists because they can't even fathom of it. So it just goes unspoken about. But clearly it's a thing, which is crazy to think there's that many. Like, dude, when I went into the fucking sex registry, just because my friend sent me a picture of some guy that we went to high school with, and like he was like, yo, he just got this charge for like statutory rape or whatever.
Oh my god.
And there's varying levels to it. Like I think he like banged a 16-year-old in North Carolina. And they tier those off in like levels of threat. Like obviously that's not going to be as much of a thing as if she was 9 or if she was 3. It's like they tier it off, rightfully so, I think.
I can't. I'm just thinking threat level midnight.
But you're going through and like just seeing like the amount of names that pop up, and you're like, dude, this is a whole world that I think that people just are unaware of. Not that I'm like this big crusader for this thing now, because it's amazing that like I've always been unable to join the conversation because it's like, because you don't get why someone would want it, you just assume that it's this small thing. You assume that it's this thing that's not prevalent, but it's like, it must be prevalent to get to this point. And who are these people? And how does it get to the point where there's more people like in that situation now than ever before? And then you hear about like, Louis C.K. or Bill Burr, one of those guys had that joke about like, in a serious context, it's hard to say the joke, but he was saying I'm curious, like, what is it like fucking a kid must be awesome. Cause like all these guys like risking their whole fucking life to like whatever. And it's like, it's like, you almost don't even, I don't know. It appears to be a thing.
I feel like it's a hard concept to wrap your mind around. To think that there are people who buy children, but then there's also the further down the tier, there's people who lure the children in and bring them on this fucking horrible ride.
Yeah.
And then they just get passed along. Like, honestly, I keep thinking about the movie Taken.
Yeah.
Where, like, you have that hilarious clip of Liam Neeson being like, I'll find you and I will kill you. But it's like his daughter literally gets kidnapped, drugged, and put in basically a holding cell and just gets passed around. And it's so hard. I feel like for people, it's so hard to think like that is reality. And people,
but also, people are like, well, that happens over there. That doesn't happen here.
Right. Like that's, so I feel like it's the epitome of out of sight, out of mind. Like I don't have to think about that. I don't have to deal about that. Like what I have to deal about is my
child sex trafficking.
No, I'm thinking about my minimum wage, my my
about
social
Barbie.
issues, and like I'm thinking about Barbie, and I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking about like I don't have to think about the woes of like kidnapping, and I feel like it's like I feel like also it's so fucked up that people don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
The media ecosystem is really bad at talking about very granular, slow-moving, sort of precipitous problems. And it only when it becomes like a catastrophe that it really becomes an issue. I guess I'm thinking of like a good example might be like the demographics, how you have all these countries that are now subtly in the negative and people are like, all these countries are losing people. These are obviously like decades long processes that are playing out, but it's only now that it's gone negative and it's creating negative consequences that we care about it, at least at the national level. I will say you will see child abductions, sex abuse cases all the time, but it's all at the local news level because that's where the place for those granular stories, that's where they come up. But yeah, again, there's not a conflict element to it either, which is what so much of the modern media ecosystem.
There needs to
at
be
the
a
national.
conflict.
There needs to be
Yeah.
a conflict.
That's a good
There's no
observation.
outrage, about like what?
Or it has to like hit the right demographic, like the guy at Gilman who like was like doing a bunch of weird shit to kids, like buying them
hear about
alcohol, picking them up from parties late at night,
Oh,
so
geez.
all this weird shit.
When did this happen?
It went federal because I think anytime you produce child pornography, that's distribution or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
So that's
it's
instantly
super illegal.
FBI comes
Yeah.
in and like they swooped him the fuck away. But like,
I feel like that.
would that have been a big issue if it happened at fucking like City College?
No.
But no, it happened at Gilman with the fucking every parent there is a lawyer.
Yeah,
They're
and
gonna
they
get
have
that
so
guy
much money.
fucked federally.
I feel like
Right.
that's similar to like the Jared from Subway guy. Like the story was about him and not so much about like the children
Yeah.
that got
Right.
affected. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's where people can like they can hone in on the villain, but they can't really hone in on like the actual victims, like and how to fucking understand that like these people exist and they need to be like put away and not given like Jared got enough, like he got publicity, bad, good, whatever.
Oh, like the fucking Boston bomber was on the cover of Rolling Stone. Like,
Yeah,
it's
that's
crazy,
insane.
man.
That's
Shouldn't
so
enable
crazy.
that type of shit.
Yeah, but even things like finance news, that's not a catastrophe. That doesn't generate outrage most of the time, but it also covers people that are very well connected and known by either people in power or people in media ecosystems. So there are a couple things that drive news, but it doesn't seem like child trafficking is any of those things.
Two quick things, actually 3 quick things. The Jarrett story, if you watch, like, I'll send you guys a video. I don't know if you watch, but that story is like, honestly, like, I kind of just assumed it was just like him just like watching child pornography. It's so, like the stuff he was doing is
Oh, yeah,
crazy.
no.
Like, it was like,
Oh, I don't know.
fucking
He
bad
had his
shit.
own fucking Ghislaine.
Yeah, he had like a recruiter that was recruited. Like he had like a whole
Yeah, it was fucked
operation going. It was so much bigger than the way in the news. It was just like, yeah, he was watching child porn. It's like,
That's what
yeah, it's not. I was surprised by that too
oh my
because the way
God.
it was pitched to the public was just that, and that was probably a major portion of Subway just being like, all right, it's already out that he's a pedophile, but like, let's try to give it the least.
$5 $5
Second thing, question: when did this Gilman thing happen?
like this past year.
Oh shit, I'll have to look into that. And third thing, just a minor qualm about the plot, just to close out this subject, Trevor, is like I said, good movie all around. The only issue I had with it was why this guy's
With all
daughter.
these slot ads.
Dude,
I get that it was independently produced, but come on.
I know, man. It was
You gotta get your
distracting,
budget
dude.
from somewhere
It was-
else.
It was distracting, Trevor. It was distracting. No, but it was the guy's kids were abducted, but then this other guy and this other guy and this other guy are the ones that go out and find him. And I'm just thinking like, and the dad is just at home like waiting for them to find him. And I'm just like, that's that dude. Where are you, bruh? Why aren't you flying to Colombia and fucking helping him out? I was just wondering about
And
that. I
really
was like,
just these random dudes that are ready to fucking go to war.
these
over
dudes,
child sex
they're like
trafficking.
federal officers. I mean, like, you know, he finds like some other random guy in Colombia, like who like had used to work with the cartel and like has connections, and he starts working with him to figure it out. And the dad's just at home, just like sitting on the girl's bed, just crying. Like, dude, come on, bro, get in the game. Get in the game. Other than that, I mean, like that was the only thing. Like the dad in that movie was weak as fuck. It was a weak character, bro.
Shit.
Weak character.
Yeah.
You better get yourself a flight to Colombia, bro.
If you're thinking about watching Sound of Freedom, just watch Taken instead. I think that's what you're trying to say.
He was not Ken Nuff.
He was not Ken. No. But yeah, good movie all around. Eric, you're holding your
I'm holding my
story. You're putting that
sauce
on
till
ice.
next week. Yeah.
Are there any other pressing issues that we need to cover in this world today? This world that we live in.
The Maui fires.
We flamed drivers. We flamed tippers. We flamed movies. I think we got it covered today.
There was a lot of ground covered.
There was a lot of ground covered. So thank you for joining us on the program. Any plugs? Do you guys happen to play? Like, you got any plugs or anything?
I got shows. I got Zissimo's next Wednesday.
Ooh.
That's with Stillbones. Next Friday is with Pat Mack and the Zen Collective, and we're opening for Pressing Strings at Metro Gallery. And then Saturday is Tributary Fest with Thunder Club.
Joe?
See, I'm playing with Flak Master and the Heebie Jeebies,
nice.
Ken Gruff, and McMaster's Sandwich, and that's all going to be at.
Oh, yeah, they're out the
Club.
Hippodrome. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I
yeah.
made up all those guys. So
I really want those to be real because those were so like
They sounded real.
they sounded
like
real enough.
some weird obscure
Come on,
bands
dude,
that
I
you
should
play
have gone
with.
first. I can't follow that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm playing with Jared and the Pedos.
Let's see. Any plugs for you, by the way?
I'm gonna be popping around. I think Baltimore Comedy Festival is this weekend, so Labor Day weekend. Go on out and see some free shows. Go to some paid ones if you want, but you might see me out and about.
And that's BaltimoreComedyFestival.com
Yes.
for all your BaltimoreComedyFestival.com needs. Shouts out to WTMD. I think we're in the record books. We're running for it. We're working on it. Most unresponded to emails of any band.
Oh, you know what? I'll send our song to Micah.
No way.
Yeah. Micah Wood's the plug.
Okay. Well, there you go, folks. Just in the nick of time. 1 month before the leave to Nashville.
They won't respond to me or us, but they'll respond to Micah.
Okay, good. All right, so it sounds like our records are coming to a close, folks, because this has been the most ridiculous streak. We live directly next to that station.
We do.
I think about
Slip
that
'em
all the
$100,
time.
bro.
I think about I think about it all the time that there is a radio station called W Towson, Maryland, and we have been playing music next to that station and around that station, and in some cases, if you're me, every Tuesday in that station, and they have somehow managed to just,
Well, they're so high up, they forget to look down.
So shouts out WTMD for keeping it real. And at Sophomore MD, at Jimmy Selesky. Across the board, this week, let me tell you about this week. Next Tuesday, assuming no other big wigs come in, I will be at Perennial, 5 to 8:30 in Towson. That's every Tuesday, unless someone important is there. Thursday, August 31st, I will be at Ampersea in Fells Point. Can you believe it?
If he feels like it.
If I feel like it. If they feel like it. If I feel like it. If God feels like it. If all the things align. If all the things align, you will see me at Ampersea in Fells Point this Thursday, August 31st. Every first Friday of the month until Atlas doesn't feel like it anymore in the winter, I will be at Valley Inn in the world-famous, luxurious Lutherville Timonium, or as some people would call it, Brooklyn DeVille. 5 to 8.
We should convince them to do one more trio.
Yeah, one more for the books.
Yeah.
We'll talk. I got
We don't
connections.
have, dude. We
Send
don't
me
have
that email, and I'll send it to my
t-
people.
I'll talk to Jezza, and she won't do anything.
Yeah, probably not. Also, this Saturday, Nacho Mama's in Towson. I will be there every first Saturday forever, I think. 4 to 7. That's Saturday, September 2nd. They called me up this week to inform me that they no longer are doing the $50 comp tab. That was a callable thing.
It's $100 now.
It's 100.
Yeah. Talk about a raise.
Yeah. So my streak of drinking bottomless Jaeger for some reason at only there, it may be coming to a bottleneck. And other than that, it's Labor Day weekend, folks. I'm having a hard time processing that. It seems like it should be at least 2 more weeks from now. It seems like Labor Day weekend should not be this weekend. Somebody should look into that. In the meantime, happy Labor Day. Happy trails? At Jimmy Selesky, at Eric Glazer.
Happy band practice, guys.
Happy band practice. At Kneehouse98. Get him to reactivate his account and follow him. At Johnny Brisket.
Yes.
At Sophomore MD. And of course, and as always, at LFTS Podcast across the board. Till next time.
Peace.